Hey guys, we are back once again with some more Danganronpa 0. In the last part, we met some familiar faces from a long time ago. Or from in the future, if you want to go that way, when we were back in the future.
I mean, to be fair, one of those faces was like semi-familiar, I guess you'd say.
We kind of met a new character.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. We've had our first on-screen death. For real this time. No shenanigans.
And not like not like some weird like, oh, this potato's dead and we like found them, or like, you know, Junko messing around on a dead body. Nah, this was like bro literally like choked the life out of a guy in like a very like, again, it's very like thematic, but like I feel like even that type of murder and in the way it happened, it just, even that felt like dark for Danganronpa, which is weird because there's so much death in Danganronpa, but everything about that chapter and that scene just felt like different. I think there's something intimate about not only watching a character like choke someone to death, but then on top of that, it's Matsuda, who we've been in the head of for damn near half the story, and is like, all things considered, like, obviously he has issues, but like a generally like seemingly not completely terrible person to boot, which I think makes it even more harrowing. Add on the fact that it
seemed like they were legitimately friends and classmates.
Yes, the story made sure to make you understand that this is someone that he not only did he not have any ill will towards him, but quite the opposite, if anything.
For real.
Which really emphasizes the strength of his resolve, and how, for better or worse, Matsuda's made his decision, and he's going through with it no matter the cost.
And yes, we also have Ryoko, who is now been taken away, pretty much, by our ultimate spy for currently unexplained reasons. But it seemed pretty serious. It seemed pretty much like we have to go right now, like the crossover's done. We really have to start engaging with the Zero story, since these minor side characters are not doing it.
That's such a Danganronpa thing to make a comment like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, but it's not even Junko who said it.
I know, but that's the thing, right? We've talked about this, though. It's like, Ryoko is like, not Junko levels of meta, but she's probably I'd say of all the characters, counting Monokupa as part of...
It's Kamishiro who said that.
Oh, yeah, it was Kamishiro, yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough, actually. Yeah, but to be fair, he's a little meta, too. I don't know. There's been some meta potatoes in this. He's not as bad as Ryoko. And obviously, Ryoko's not as bad as Junko, because Jesus Christ, Junko's insane. She was really fucking bad in DR1. She's worse in this. And I mean that in all the best ways.
It's just a shame it's not a VN. But it is what it is. So yeah, I'm ready to continue on with this epic saga, if you are as well.
Of course. We got chapter 5.
Oh yeah.
This should be interesting. I don't know,
we might be in for some very long chapters, if you can believe that.
Yeah, like I said, I did some pre-scouting on my videos, and my episode 6 was only 2 chapters, so... No, it was on the
terrifying.
It was on the shorter side, but it was still like almost 2 hours for 2 chapters, and at the pace we've been going, I'd probably be longer. Anyways, though, let's jump into chapter 5. So I'm assuming, if I had to guess, chapter 5 is going to go back to Ryoko, if I had to guess, and continue what she's doing with Kamishiro. But anyways, let's continue. Although there are several cafeterias scattered throughout the campus of Hope's Peak Academy, the one everyone calls the Third School Cafeteria in the East District is the most popular by far. Apparently. During lunch hours, it's filled not only with students, but even teachers and staff, all lined up in a queue. It seems the secret behind this particular cafeteria's popularity is the student they call the ultimate cook. Interesting.
Ooh, that sounds delicious. I
We
wonder if
have
this is a friend. Oh, this is a friend of Jill's, since she was all about that food analogy.
We do have a. I'm not sure if we'll know anything about them, but it's a new character who boasts of his own unique recipes. So it's a guy. His food isn't governed by style of cuisine or even by common sense, and I hear it's so addictive you can't help but feel like it must contain drugs or something. But
Got a Gordon Ramsay in our universe apparently.
yeah, I mean, it
Sounding
makes
nice.
sense. That's a obvious talent. That
I
makes
really,
perfect
I
sense.
would not put it past Danganronpa at all to literally just describe Gordon Ramsay.
That would be funny. That would be funny. He wasn't as. I mean, he's still like. Even then, he was still super famous. But I feel like in the last, I don't know how many years, but he's gotten like even more famous. I think.
Well, yeah,
Because
the
of, like,
introduction of like Kitchen Nightmares and whatnot. That
well, I
really
mean, that had been
boasted him
around forever, but
quite
I
a
think
lot.
like YouTube, like on YouTube and stuff, it really took off.
I feel like that came in at the 2010s.
Maybe beginning of the 2010s. I feel like late 2000s even though.
Hmm.
Either way, that doesn't matter.
Possible.
The student they call the ultimate cook, who boasts of his own unique recipe. Oh yeah, I said all that actually. Come to think of it, it doesn't really matter since I've forgotten how addictive it is in the first place. Well, nevertheless, even now, the third school cafeteria was so busy there wasn't a single seat available. For someone like me, standing all alone, this atmosphere was anything but comfortable. So what
That's insane. This isn't even an official cafeteria, and they've like basically just built him a cafeteria.
That makes sense though. That's a very Hope's Peak thing to do though, I feel like.
That is
it's
fair.
it's funny though because why the fuck are we here? Is like Kamishiro like, okay, this is important, but I can't miss out on my ultimate cook food because he does like to eat his
sweets.
pastries. Yeah.
This might be where he's getting them.
I assume this is Kamishiro.
You assume.
Best guess.
I'm here too, you know.
Did I say something out loud? Yeah. That's him.
I told you, I'm the ultimate spy from the 77th class. Yuto Kamishiro. Come on, how many times do I have to introduce myself?
As he spoke, he formed an X with his arms.
Damn it seems like we have bad chemistry. And here I was praying to God we'd be a good match. Too bad.
What kind of god were you praying to? In any case, it seems Kamishiro and I certainly do have bad chemistry. Forgettable Kamishiro and forgetful me. Oh, that's kind of funny, actually. Forgettable
Feels like that is some
Kamishiro
chemistry.
and forgetful, I guess, Otanashi. That's kind of funny. In his hands, he was holding what looked as though it were watered down milk. Interesting.
Well, whatever. What's more important is starting our conversation.
Right, we could do that, but I looked around at the students bustling through the cafeteria. Why come here, of all places? Kamishiro wagged a short finger at me as he chided me.
It's bad form to answer such a question in front of outsiders, so listen close. If anything, this is the perfect place for it. If we talked about this somewhere else with only a few people around, someone would be able to overhear us easily. It's a theory of mine that we should hide like we're extras in an adult video.
I mean, I don't know about that last sentence, but I guess the logic kind of makes sense. If someone's
Yeah.
spying on you, it would probably be a lot harder to hear your conversation in a noisy as fuck location than in a, like, secluded location.
We all know the reason he really came here, though, and that's just for his
Oh yeah,
pastries.
it's definitely a 2-for-1 special, if nothing else. So what you're saying is that if we need to talk about something important, we should pretend we're just having a normal chat?
What I'm saying is, it'd be lonely if I was here by myself.
Our casual exchange thus far was buried in the sounds of the busy students around us.
See? No one cares about our conversation, do they?
Kamishiro had a huge grin on his face as though he had just committed some fantastic prank. Without delay, he moved on to the main topic of conversation.
There's a reason why I wanted to talk to you as soon as possible, big sis. Did anyone go to your room this morning?
Yeah, did they?
It's fine if you've forgotten. Just check your notebook.
A bit surprised, I did as I was told and took out Ryoko Tanashi's memory notebook before looking through it. Ah! I remembered it as soon as I saw the words and practically shouted in response. I remember! I know, it was Junko Enoshima! That girl suddenly came into my room. Yeah, that was the end of Volume 1, the last time we saw her.
And the big plot hole of, again, her just leaving her notebook on the ground, but she suddenly has it again. Huh. So then, that person really was Junko Enoshima.
I knew it.
Does he think there's another one?
No, you're still going. Sorry.
Oh. I knew it. Yep. Like that wire tape I put in your room worked perfectly.
Bro, wiretap to room like April, May. That's crazy. Say, Kamashiro?
Huh? What?
What did you say just now? Did you say a wiretap?
Yeah, I said that. I said wiretap. What about it?
A wiretap?
Yeah, it's a common device used for eavesdropping.
I quickly stood from my chair. How is this normal? Regular average people don't use those things. Despite my objections, Kamashiro's face was as calm as ever.
We're not normal people, are we?
No.
Let's not go on about the wiretap. It was crime prevention.
Wiretaps aren't just used to prevent crimes.
So you noticed.
Clap, clap, clap.
I did clap.
Yeah, it must have cut out. As he verbally applauded me, he withdrew a giant paper bag from under his chair. Immediately, the boy shoved his hand into the bag and pulled out a pastry.
Ah, yes, let's go. Ah, what sugar... a sugar twist donut. I'm not quite sure what that is, but it sounds delicious.
As he cheered by himself, he happily crammed it into his mouth. That's a little rude. I have no idea what you just said. Kamashiro swallowed down the donut that had been stuffed into his mouth before responding.
I said, not just you, big sis. I don't want you to misunderstand me. It's just part of the job. If we were talking all together, I guess I've wiretapped around this many people.
Kamashiro held up all his fingers. What? 10 people?
100.
100? Each finger was supposed to be 10 people?
Almost one for every...
Dalmatian.
Oh. Almost one for every Dalmatian. Am I right?
Yeah, he does make references to 101 Dalmatians.
Reference.
Yeah. I mean, we've been having a lot of movie references in this story. I do wonder if part of it is like I wonder if you're able to get away with a lot more reference-wise because it's just a book compared to like a video game. Because I know...
It's funny because this is from Japan.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the movie
on the copyright.
Yeah, the movie well, yeah, but I think it might be one of those things too. It's like a lot of the references have been to like American movies and stuff too, so.
Yeah.
As I stood there, stunned by the unexpected amount of people he had claimed, he explained his logic.
The reason is that I rotate between girls pretty often. That way I can still have fun, regardless of if it's someone's time of the month.
What the
Okay, you little pervert.
That's a wild thing to say. He puffed out his chest. Wait, that part's not an important detail.
Anyways, like, he's like barbed every one of the girls in the school.
I mean, good for him, I guess, but what the fuck?
Holy shit.
Anyways, how did you manage to wiretap 100 people's rooms?
It was easy with my talent. Sneaking into places like the girls' bathroom or locker room is a piece of cake.
I mean, I guess technically we kind of did that once in the first game. Something like that.
You didn't do that. I did.
Well, you know.
You missed the scene.
Sure. Do something else with that piece of cake.
Oh, but it's nice and soft with extra cream.
Bruh. This has gotten out of hand so fast. Not just out of hand, out of leg, head, back, out of everything.
Either way, I say let bygones be bygones.
The boy suddenly announced, dismissing the entire wiretapping conversation as if it were nothing and instead starting on a different subject.
I gotta say though, when you girls are in a room together, you sure are noisy, aren't you? I could barely hear the conversation because of it. So enlighten me. Why did Junko Enoshima come visit you? Did she want to involve you in some kind of important errand?
As he said that, he took out another pastry.
Oh, a German bear claw!
As he began munching on it, his eyes lit up as though he were savoring a rare delicacy. Well, that's... My eyes dropped down to my notebook, skimming as I answered him. It seems she came to give me some kind of hint?
A hint?
I continued flipping through the notebook as we officially hit the 60% mark. Junko Enoshima's purpose? Mashiro looked surprised at my words.
Tell me in more detail. What did Junko Enoshima say her purpose was?
He asked, more forceful than before. I read the written memories aloud, feeling strangely tense. It seems like Junko Enoshima has two purposes. The first is to crush Izuru Kamakura until nothing is left. Do you know what that means?
Keep going.
He coldly prompted without answering me. I looked back down to the words in the notebook. The second is... I read a few words further and was intensely shocked by what was written there. Okay, so she just remembered again that Junko wants Matsuda dead.
Her goal is to kill Matsuda.
How many times is she going to have this realization? It was as if someone had decimated me by pounding my spine
more.
with a sledgehammer. A sudden, intense shock surged through my entire body.
Big sis?
What the hell? It says, kill your beloved darling, Yasuke Matsuda. As soon as I said the words out loud, my brain felt like it was going through nuclear meltdown. The world around me began to rock violently, though it felt like an earthquake. I myself must have been was the one shaking. Nice. My head felt hot, intensely so, and yet my body was ice cold. The less familiar, often forgotten feelings of fear and anger hit me all at once. Was shaking violently for reasons I couldn't understand.
Calm down, sis.
The inside of my head had grown numb with fear, but I could hear a voice echoing quietly. I slowly faded back to my senses to find Kamashiro saying something to me.
The kill thing has to be a bluff. There's no way a person can just commit a murder so lightly.
Besides... Oh, that's still him, yeah.
Besides, if she really planned to kill him, there'd be no point declaring it to you until after she's already murdered him. Am I right?
That's the interesting thing, and that's where you get again.
That's the thing.
Into...
She wants you to kill him.
That's what it feels like, doesn't it? That's true. I know that, but I can't stop my body from shaking at all. You're right. There's no way she'd kill him. My voice shook so heavily that I could barely form a single word.
In the meantime, it might be better for you to just not say anything. At least until you've calmed down. From now on, you should just listen to my reasoning instead. Okay, let's get a move on then.
The sudden, enthusiastic announcement brought a shift in tone, and as he straightened the posture, Kamashiro loudly began explaining his logic.
First, there's the supposed advance notice of Yakushi Maku... God, why did I fuck that up? Yasuke Matsuda's death that you are so worried about. Most likely, that's a bluff. I mean, there's no sense in telling others about a murder you have yet to commit. She may have been using that as a threat, but that's also unlikely. It's definitely a bluff. For now, that's our understanding of it. But we should be more wary of the girl's first purpose.
See, I don't know about that. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Izuru Kamakura is incredibly important, I'm sure, but there's a lot more to that second comment than I think our ultimate spy here is realizing. Junko Enoshima's
Or
first
just letting her
preference.
realize.
That too. That's certainly.
Is this me?
Yeah, definitely.
No. Even so. Ah. Crushing the paper. Crushing Izuru Kamakura until nothing is left is, honestly, even I was a little surprised. It's too much of a coincidence. I didn't think I'd hear Kamakura's name.
It's interesting you do pretty well with that name, because I know that that's a name a lot of people struggle to say.
It is a pretty hard name.
But that
for a Western tongue.
You're pretty good on that name.
Huh, thanks.
Who's that?
Did you just ask who that was?
Kamashiro patted his chest with his hand.
They're the culprit!
Apparently, that seems to be what we're getting across in all these different perspectives. He leaned
The
forward.
culprit, I guess, behind the tragedy?
Yeah,
Of the
the
legendary
tragedy of
Hope Speak Academy?
Yes. The 13 student killer does, by all accounts, everyone seems to be coming to that conclusion that it's Izuru, so interesting. He leaned forward and over the table, speaking in an excited tone.
I was surprised to hear their name pop up here, because Izuru Kamakura is the culprit behind the tragedy of Hope Speak Academy!
It's interesting because, like, Kamashiro's not talked at all about, like, oh, his theories about this or anything, and, like, so it'll be interesting to hear his logic about this. The culprit behind the tragedy of Hope Speak Academy? Speaking of which, what's the tragedy of Hope Speak Academy? I tilted my head to the side.
Wait, I can tell that you don't remember. It's always the same when I reveal my deductions to other girls. But from now on, I should expect your reaction when I tell you things.
Yeah, she's a special case. Looking truly bored, the boy exhaled deeply and continued.
When I told you the other day, you didn't remember then, either. And you didn't even bother to ask me whether the tragedy of Hope Speak Academy even really happened or not, did you? But now, I can say it with all more confidence!
Kamashiro snapped his fingers right in front of my eyes.
The tragedy of Hope Speak Academy. Izuru Kamakura is the culprit behind the incident.
He beamed with pride as he announced it. After a moment, his voice fell a bit as he spoke again.
That wasn't the reaction I'd hoped for.
He muttered another excuse or two as I tried to piece together what he was talking about.
The reason why I believe this is the case is also why I called this meeting.
Kamashiro leaned over to my ear and whispered in a small voice.
Actually, I overheard a conversation between faculty members.
Overheard? Somehow that word filled me with a sense of dread.
The staff having the conversations were on school grounds, but they seemed very cautious. They didn't mind spilling out all their complaints when they're in their own rooms, though. Other than love affairs, it was the most clandestine atmosphere I could possibly imagine. Seriously, those people involved in office romances are scary.
You don't mean...
I don't doubt. There's a lot of affairs going on between the staff of the Hope Speak Academy.
I bet.
Oh, it's been a while since you last talked.
Yeah, was it a while? No, I didn't need to worry about that, more importantly.
As expected, when I say wiretap I installed in the female teacher's lounge has been at least somewhat useful thus far. We should call this Operation The Elite Female Staff Are Faced with a Dilemma!
Why do I feel like you don't have a wiretap in the male teacher's lounge?
What'd be the point of that?
I see. How nice. My reaction, understandably, seemed fairly idiotic.
In any case, the pieces of the puzzle are starting to come together. The tragedy of Hope Speak Academy, Izuru Kamakura, and Junko Enoshima. Once we find out what the connection between them is, we'll be able to solve this case. Is Izuru Kamakura just a fucking alias? Because the last name kind of sounds a little like Monokuma, I'm not gonna lie.
I guess. It could be an alias. We just...
Or is this secretly Junko's lover?
Maybe.
Ooh.
I mean, whatever it is, I think what the story... The one thing, more than anything, that I think the story has tried to make abundantly clear to the viewer is that Izuru Kamakura, by all accounts, is like this almost mythical creature, like this rumored like legend that people in the school don't even seem to know if he, like, Izuru exists, but it's one of those things where it's like Izuru, by all accounts, A, does seem to exist, and B, seemingly is the killer in the tragedy of Hope's Peak, and C, obviously, is not Junko. Like, this is some other entity besides Junko.
I guess, and there's also...
Even though there's probably... Obviously, Junko has some probably connection, and obviously Junko directly... Her goals directly involve Izuru, as she's stated, but...
There's still the mystery of those goddamn missing bodies.
Yes.
That Junko did not know where they went.
Honestly, unironically at this point, I'm very much wondering if it's Matsuda.
That is a possibility, I guess.
Especially with how things have evolved with him, and and the things that have been implied about what he might be doing. That's my best guess this far. I mean, I guess hypothetically it could also be somehow related to Izuru, because God only knows what's going on with that. But
yeah.
Matsuda,
we do know now how far he'd go to protect Ryoko.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you slaughter an entire class for that?
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, like, he might have tried to hide evidence of Junko doing Junko things.
Possibly.
Ironically, I mean, like, because, like, it's like, trying to... Especially because there's a lot of things... I've talked about this earlier in the story. I haven't talked about it a lot lately. But because of that, there's a lot of things that you could manipulate in Ryoko. You can manipulate her perspective and her memory in really, really interesting and incredibly fucked up ways to, in the case of Matsuda in particular, quote unquote protect her. There's a lot of interesting things you could do, and
by
basically
taking away her very identity,
you can do things to convince her that things didn't happen that she's seen, and convince her basically that she's crazy or whatever. Like, you could do a lot of interesting things. And in Matsuda's case, if he is doing crazy shit like that in the name of protecting her. But also other people could do that. Like we talked about, like Junko or Mukuro or whatever can also manipulate her in really interesting ways, and potentially have. It's hard to even fully know what we've fully experienced from her perspective. Anyways. So, once we find out, well, I mean, this is your line, but so that's the key there, is the connection between Junko and Izuru is what will solve the case in the eyes of Kamishiro. So then it'll only take a little longer?
Yeah, just a little. Another way to put it is that we just need to take one more step. Here's my prediction. Once we connect one more piece, all the secrets will be revealed. If that happens, we'll understand soon afterward. And I wonder if that one piece is in the hands of one Miss Kyoko Kirigiri, the ultimate detective.
There's only one piece left? That's
So,
kind of how it feels. Like we're close. We almost like it feels like we have almost all the pieces at this point. It's just fitting them all together. And like I said, we might be missing maybe one or two, but we're getting somewhere for sure.
so are you only going to are you only are you going to talk to this Izuru Kamakura person? They're the culprit, aren't they?
Oshiro made a troubled face, tilting his head to the side at the question.
This is you.
No, it's definitely you. I don't think I can.
Is it? Are you
Yeah.
sure?
Yeah.
I don't think I can. After all, no one knows where they are.
No one knows? So they're missing?
No, I wouldn't call it missing per se.
Hamashiro's expression only became more and more concerned, his tone of voice growing serious to match. More serious to match.
The individual named Izuru Kamakura isn't a member of the regular school, the reserve course, or the teaching staff. In fact, I can't find any mention of that person's name anywhere in Hope's Peak Academy. No boys, no girls, no students that are presently attending or graduated.
Huh?
Damn, it's just a regular fucking like non-exclusive potato.
It's nothing
Just
though.
the-
It's not anyone. Like, because they
Yeah.
also said like it's not a reserve course person. It's not a teacher. It's just
Perhaps the true culprit is
Well, I mean-
one Ryoko Atanashi.
I mean, I doubt she's
Without
Izuru,
the memory of
but
ever remembering she's Izuru.
I see. I don't think that's what's going on here. I do think this Izuru is, in all likelihood, a character we haven't met, but it's interesting nonetheless.
I still think it's a little possible. Like the fact that there's just Junko wanting Ryoko for something, the fact that they're building up to this.
I mean, if
potato.
if you again
The
take
fact that Matsuda is so obsessed with keeping Ryoko out of everything.
if you take the two things that Junko said, she wants to essentially completely destroy Izuru Kamakura, and she wants to kill Matsuda. If Izuru Kamakura is somehow Ryoko, there's a lot that there'd be a lot of questions about that, because clearly there's like some weird thing where like the school is protecting Izuru, or like something weird like that is going on, like at least the steering committee potentially is protecting Izuru. I don't know quite how you link the two. Like, it is that weird thing where it's like, because it does feel like Ryoko is kind of this character that is on the outs. Now, it is weird because, like, Ryoko is not quite off the books, but she is kind of in her own little world in Hope's Peak. So it's like, that part kind of lines up, but it is one of those weird things where that, to me, that almost like would imply that, and I guess it's possible, but there's a lot of weird stuff that in with Matsuda where I almost feel like if Ryoko is somehow Izuru, then the school was involved. Like, that makes me think that Matsuda gave Ryoko her like memory issue. But that takes me in another direction where I think it was done at behest of the school. Like, that's where it goes into like a totally different direction where like it's like hiding this like superior talent from the world for like when they need it most or whatever other bullshit like that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, she does have a pretty impressive talent.
Sure, but that's what I'm saying. If she's somehow Izuru, then you have to work around the idea of, like, there's a lot of things in the story that you kind of have to find a way to piece together, and the only way I can make it, I think, make sense logically would be it was Hope's Peak Academy, or the real higher-ups, like the steering committee, that basically made Matsuda, like, fuck with her head. Like, this would be a theory where I am going down the route that Matsuda did it, and it wasn't intentional, but instead of to protect her, like, from Junko or any shit like that, it's purely to essentially almost, like, put her in a stasis so they can, like, presumably if you can undo it as easy as you could do it, you can, like, hide her so she's not, like, targeted or anything, which, I mean, we know Izuru is being targeted regardless of whether it's Ryuko or not, by nefarious forces, and then, like, you know, almost like basically Izuru can just pop out of nowhere and do whatever Izuru does that's considered this, like, hope or whatever for
Yeah,
Hope Speed.
I get it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain, but that's, like, the only way I
get
think
what you're saying.
Izuru could be Ryuko, is if the school's in on it.
And I still like that. I think that's pretty cool.
I guess it's possible. It's just it's a lot different from what we've kind of potentially been looking at, but it's a theory. There's a pathway for that to work, is what I'm trying to say. But I think it's pretty narrow. Anyways, no mentions anywhere. It's like they're a ghost.
I think the most likely possibility is someone wiped the record clean. Nasty business, honestly. I believe it would have been someone involved with the school, but not someone in the inner circle. It would be too risky for them.
So then there's an accomplice within the school?
Well, we do have an ultimate programmer.
Yeah, but I
Easily
doubt...
hackable. It's strange, though. For as long as I've been investigating it, I haven't found a single student who actually knows who this Izuru Kamakura is. The school began hiding them after the incident, so it wouldn't be strange if there were students who knew them before it happened. But I've never thought there'd be no sign of their existence from the very beginning.
So
unless everyone that knew was killed.
I guess that's possible, but I would imagine that there'd be more than just the student council. My best guess there is kind of something that you've already alluded to. Izuru Kamakura, not necessarily an alias exactly, but it feels like it's a code word. Like, it's Izuru Kamakura is like code for like this character, like used in like they'll never say this person's real name because that could potentially be tracked, obviously. So it's like every time this person is mentioned, Izuru Kamakura is just like the code name that's used. So it's kind of like fair. It's almost like a reverse alias where it's like this person's only spoken to of with a code name so that their real identity, which they use, like the real name, isn't ever linked to this, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's kind of like a reverse alias of sorts. But yeah, that's the only way this makes sense to me, is like Izuru Kamakura is just some weird like code for someone at this school who, whatever their name is, it's not probably actually Izuru Kamakura. Anyways, no way, they really are a ghost.
Stop that! They're not anything like a ghost!
Kamashiro puffed out his cheeks, seeming displeased with the turn the conversation had taken.
I really think a spy like myself would believe in such superstition nonsense? Who do I look like? The ultimate clairvoyant?
Nice.
Anyway.
He cleared his throat slightly, and it just go ahead.
No matter what the reason is, if we don't find out who Izuru Kamakura is, we may have no choice but to give up.
Give up? I exclaimed, my voice rising sharply in volume. In response, Kamishiro shook his finger in front of my face, tutting me again.
It's no good to jump to conclusions. As I was saying, we may have no choice but to give up coming at it from that perspective. If we can't figure out from that one, it'll be better to come from it at a different perspective. It's stupid to always look at things from one point of view. For example, if you only ever look at an upperclassman's boobs, you'll never see her ass.
Underclassman, actually. But yes.
Yes, that too.
I see. Thank
So,
goodness.
so we know that's referring to someone in class 78.
Yeah, that would make
Who?
sense. Yeah.
Is it the Mommy Melon Hina?
I could see it
Big
being
Milka?
just about any of them with Kamishiro, to be honest. All of them.
Except Toko,
Fair.
because kind of missing a few elements there.
I see. Thank goodness. The reaction might have been a bit silly, but I chose to ignore his comparison and replied overly cheerfully. So what's the other perspective?
Junko and Ashima, of course.
She kind of damn near feels like a ghost in this story too, but not like Izuru. Izuru's literally just a phantom in this story.
Yes.
Junko just seems to appear and disappear into the ether, but at least she appears. Junko and Oshima, we always return to that girl's name. I felt the shivers run down my spine.
Thanks to the conversation I overheard from the female staff, I finally understand in what way Junko and Ashima is connected to the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. Really?
Kamishiro shot a quick glance to me, checking my
got it?
exceptionally weak reaction before letting out a large sigh.
It looks like you don't remember, but other than being the person who started the rumor of it all,
Yep.
she started it. Nice.
Oh yeah, we talked about this like early on. I think we kind of like put that together.
Ah, fair enough.
Yeah.
It's a mystery as to what other connection she has to the tragedy. But it's a mystery. I've finally cracked it. It seems that she's the girl who discovered the massacre. Oh, that's not a good sign at all.
It's interesting, like that. I guess if there was any doubt left, she didn't do it. Like that's putting yourself in that's like inserting yourself into it, which screams of like she didn't do it. She probably intentionally was trying to involve herself into this.
Although,
but yeah,
by Ace Attorney logic, she would be the culprit in this.
well, but she becomes the obvious suspect, at least the first person that you question for sure. If you can find her to question her, of course. But I will say, in regards to her starting the rumor, she's been riling the reserve corps students. That's the riot or parade that's been going on outside throughout the story.
Yeah, I do. I know that.
They haven't talked about it in a little while, but it is happening in the background.
It's a common background. Yeah, it's just one of the background assets you got to keep in mind.
Discovered it, but isn't that suspicious?
Since this is our little mystery novel, she's definitely a suspect.
I hate that it's literally a mystery novel. Said Kamishiro, nodding.
But you know that, don't you? She's already been interrogated by the school.
Interrogated?
We've been over this! If you don't remember, check your notebook.
As Kamishiro suddenly yelled like a child throwing a temper tantrum, I quickly read through the notebook. I see. Junko and Oshima started to spread rumors immediately following the incident and was investigated and questioned. But if she was released just after that, then that means she can't be the culprit.
Thanks to you for rereading everything, I've come to a conclusion. Big Sis. Well, it's just as you put it. I thought that since the interrogation was so relentless, it would be impossible for her to escape.
Kamishiro suddenly stopped moving.
We
What's
just had
wrong?
a click moment.
Yeah, you're right. What's wrong?
I see. That's it!
The boy's eyes widened as the corners of his mouth shook and trembled.
I understand now. We completely overlooked the most important part of it all. It really was best to ask you for help, Big Sis. You did great with the whole interactive mystery part.
With uncontrollable excitement, he took another sweetbread out of the paper bag, a jam bun this time, and as he bit into it, he started to craft a new sentence.
What I'm saying is, Junko and Ashima was interrogated by the school. That's where the last piece was hidden!
Interesting. What do you mean?
Well, you see, the information I heard while eavesdropping, the interrogation on Junko and Ashima was beyond thorough. They started with the cliche things like polygraph testing and kinesthetic analysis. Then they moved on to something called brain fingerprinting, which is a more advanced method of lie detection. That fucking Jesus Christ. And the thing about brain fingerprinting is that it's said to be more reliable than your basic polygraph test. The point being, they were using tests that measured brainwaves directly to see if she was she's an ultimate liar. She is mastered lying. She's like, what's that girl? She's like Azula. She like changes not at all when she lies. To see if she was lying. Understand?
This is interesting on 2 levels because, like, it's one of those things where it's like, I think the most likely thing is she was telling the truth, but also if anyone could fool a brain fingerprinting device, it probably would be Junko Enoshima. So, like, I don't know. But what I will say is, I have no idea if this is a real thing. If it is, it's probably, like, some declassified, like, government technology that's, like, not for public use, if I had to understand. But I will say the science... They probably got
something like that.
The science behind it, which is, very basically explained, but hypothetically, measuring brainwaves to see if someone is lying is hypothetically not... That's not, like, pseudoscience. Like, hypothetically, something like that, I suppose, could exist. So, I wouldn't be surprised if it does. But I've never heard of it before, so I'm not sure. Not really, but it sounds incredible.
Who would they get to do that other than Matsuda?
That's also that's a really good point.
Exactly.
That's a really good point. The fucking neurologist, oh god, yeah. That's really interesting because the reason that's so interesting is he had such a strong reaction to Ryuko mentioning Junko.
Yep.
But if you're right, which I don't think it's a guarantee, but you're right that, like, there's a very obvious logical thread between brain fingerprinting and Yasuke Matsuda. So, and we already know that Matsuda's involved. Like, they were having Matsuda talk to. Like, they have Matsuda, he's got, like, clearance right now for shit that, like, nobody's allowed to see. So they are involving him directly in this, as we've seen from the beginning, really. But, yeah, that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of ways to take that. Anyways, not really,
just
but
seeing the scar bro she left on him during a fucking interrogation scene. Holy crap.
Not really, but it sounds incredible. I would have loved if Matsuda was doing a hardcore interrogation on Junko. Jesus Christ, would I have loved to seen that?
Oh yeah.
Not really, but it sounds incredible. I mean, I guess, honestly, if part of it is like the reveal of it, for all we know, we could get a flashback of that still. So if that is really what happened, we might still get it, actually.
That's right. It is incredible.
Corners of Kamashiro's mouth twitched up into a smile.
Not only that, but none of it would have been possible without an expert.
Yep, he made the same connection you did. An expert?
Why do you think that she wants to kill him so badly? Because he's the only one who saw through her farce, perhaps?
Yeah, but if she... Or
the only possible one?
Oh god. Okay, now we have talk on multiple levels. So first of all, did he see through her farce, if it was a farce? But then there's the second thing. If he saw through her farce, he lied about it.
Oh dear.
Because the school let Junko go.
Yeah.
What the fuck does that mean? If that's what happened.
That could also strengthen your point about him being the one moving the bodies. Something we know for a fact Junko isn't involved with.
See, it's so weird.
He's operating somehow on his own.
It feels like he's simultaneously Junko's greatest ally and greatest enemy at the same time. It's so weird.
I wonder if she put that together, which is why she's heighting Ryoko up to kill him.
I don't know, because that's the thing. It's like his actions are so... And to be fair, we don't fully know any of these. We really don't know almost anything he's actually done other than murder the student council guy. Like, all of this is hypotheticals.
That's enough, isn't it?
Now, that was crazy, and that furthers the fact that he's doing crazy shit, and he's willing to go to extremes. But we still don't know exactly what, besides that, what he's actually done and not done. But it is really strange how it seems like he's simultaneously trying to help Junko while also
working against Junko.
Like it's the end of the world. Like Junko, whatever Junko's doing is literally the end of the world, which, ironically enough, he might be more on the nose, honestly. But it's so weird. And it's like trying to piece together how that makes sense is interesting, for sure. Anyways, an expert.
It seems that the school requested the assistance of a certain student for the interrogation. Of course, I couldn't find who the student was. But I just realized it would be difficult to try something as complex as brain fingerprinting without an expert in the field. They'd have needed to collaborate with someone deeply talented, so they wouldn't have to wing it. My point is, there's someone in this school who's very familiar with the intricacies of the brain.
Eh? At the exact moment. Yes, sir. At that exact moment, an awful thought came wandering into my mind. I didn't want it to come true, so I quickly tried to think of anything else in order to distract me. It has nothing to...
You know him, big sis. He is the ultimate neurologist. Fuck. Yakushi Matsuda. I fucked that up.
The ultimate neurologist, Yasuke Matsuda. I heard something within my ear that sounded like a fuse shorting out. My brain was going blank.
With the death notice from earlier, it seemed certain that there was a connection between Junko Enoshima and Yatsuki Matsuda. Perhaps Matsuda knew Enoshima's weakness. Either way, there must be a further reason behind their connection, right? The school released Enoshima from the interrogation way too easily.
So, yeah, what the fuck, Kirish?
Were you about to say Kurisu?
No, I was just trying to think of his name, and I was like, I had the Shiro part, Kamishiro. I lost his name for a second in my head. If Kamashiro's theory is correct, it does seem to imply that whatever Matsuda found out, he did not tell the whole, at the very least, he did not tell the whole truth to the powers that be at Hope's Peak. He seemingly lied to protect Junko if Kamashiro's theory is correct, which is, again, very odd, and you kind of have to get kind of creative to even find a way to make that make sense. But I don't know.
But this series can find a way.
Oh, I know it does. I won't even pretend.
Interesting.
They cook so hard. Dude, I can't wait. I will say, just a small aside, I can't wait to get to the end of this. I can't wait to see your hear your reaction, whatever. Get your reaction to the end of this.
You get it live.
Yeah. And I'll probably watch it back, too. Because, the ending of this is so good. As is something that Danganronpa does exceptionally well in general. And they are very good at endings.
Oh, yeah.
But, anyways. Released from the interrogation way too easily. He continued to talk on, his eyes shining brightly. I found myself simply nodding in agreement to everything he said. After he had spoken for what felt like forever and a day, I couldn't help but feel as though I had no energy left in my body. Even so, Kamashiro continued to talk. In contrast to his upbeat, excited demeanor, I must have looked depressed at best.
The point being, I can't help but feel as though Yatsuki Matsuda may have been the hidden piece, you know? I mean, do you really think Junko Enoshima was only aiming at a good relationship between Matsuda and yourself out of obsession? Yes. Hey, if it really is what I've concluded, then don't you think that's the connection?
See, that's actually interesting to point out, because from Kamoshiro's perspective, I agree with everything he's saying. However, from our perspective as the readers, which we obviously know things, we know things that Kamishiro doesn't. I don't know. I actually think a big part of this is because of some form of obsession, but not in the sense that he's saying where like Junko's like obsessed with Matsuda or Matsuda and Ryuko, but rather because of Ryoko's obsession with Matsuda, right? Like there is clearly an element of I want to break her by taking away Matsuda in whatever form it happens. But it's very possible that this could be a, two birds, one stone, where like there's multiple reasons she wants Matsuda dead, not just...
Nothing's ever that simplistic with Junko.
Right. Yeah, I mean, she's literally labeled it as one of her two goals, which means there's probably multiple motives for it. If it's like primary goal, it's like goal number 2 on her to-do list. But yeah, that might be the connection. I'm not really thinking anything. I don't know anything. I don't even know how the conversation turned to Matsuda in the first place. I don't know about these overwhelming reasons and connections. It's impossible that everything has a reason behind it. That
Can the ultimate analyst really think that?
The chaos of the universe is far too random. It's not like everything could be perfectly neatly tied up like a story in a book. There was no need to write any of this in my notebook because my self-defense was working. Oh, it has nothing to do with her. So she's not going to write in her notebook because she purposely wants to forget about it.
Well, that's not good.
No, that's not any way to live, but, she's not the healthiest person.
That goes against the whole point of having the notebook.
Yeah, it does. It's kind of a betrayal of the self. If something came and threatened my world, I would be happier forgetting about it. Because if I forget about it, that means I have nothing to do with it, and that protects my world. So I'll look away from life's disruptions. I'll turn from its misfortunes, and I'll chase after my world with all the strength I hold within. I'll cast away my feelings of self-hatred and guilt. Because I'll always forget, whether or not I face the truth. And so, the things I forget, they simply have nothing to do with me. That is my self-defense.
That is a cope session and a half.
Yeah, but it's a very unique coping mechanism that is specifically to her. I mean, she literally says it's my self-defense. I mean, she's basically saying that she's coping, but it's a special case with her because it does carry more weight than a normal cope sesh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I really do feel like we'll solve this soon.
I don't think she wants to solve it anymore. I suddenly realized Kamishiro was still talking to himself, drawing nonsense shapes on top of the table with the tip of his finger. It's interesting, too, because when we look at the whole, like, Junko telling Ryuko her goals, another reason why she probably just said, like, oh, I want to kill your beloved Matsuda is purely to push Ryuko into action, right? Because Ryuko does try to say that nothing is about her, and what would spur her to action but the one thing that she actually cares about, right? So that is another angle that Junko might have took. It might literally have been to just push Ryuko to keep looking into this. Like,
that is a fair point.
There's so many layers to why she could have said that. And in reality, it's probably all of the above. Because it's Junko and all she does is cook. I suddenly realized Kamishiro was still talking to himself, drawing nonsense shapes on top of the table with the tip of his finger.
Say, Big Sis, it seems like the end of your troubles is coming too soon. After I solve it, it'll be time for you to get ready to reward me. Oh no. Oh yes. So polish up that fine-ass body. I like to imagine that I like to imagine that, despite your cute face, at night you're as intense as they come. Aren't you? I bet you are, right?
Well, I mean, to be honest, if she was in that situation, she had to do it. I'm sure she would be happy to just do whatever you wanted, however you wanted it, because she would just forget it.
No one gets this other than Matsuda.
I mean,
Doesn't matter if
probably
she remembers it. That's the exception to the rule.
after he finished his one-sided conversation, he got up from his chair, though it really seemed more as though he had to jump out of it.
Alright, we're on the home stretch.
After yelling an encouraging cry, he turned back to face me.
I'm sure next time we meet, I'll have solved this case.
Oh, that's kind of an
Assuming she doesn't
ominous.
kill you by then.
That's an ominous one as well, because that implies we're not gonna. The next time we see Kamishiro, it's gonna be like endgame. So that's
Assuming she doesn't just kill you before you do like harm to Matsuda.
I mean, to be fair, it doesn't. It's hard to like. He's not necessarily trying to do that, but we'll see.
Possibly incriminating Matsuda for holding
It certainly
exceedingly important evidence.
There's potential for that, but I think Kamishiro probably understands that he should be careful what he says about Matsuda with Ryuko. I think, but despite being a little weirdo, I think he does understand tact. The wave of his hand, Kamishiro left the table. However, after only walking a few steps, he stopped.
Oh, right.
He looked back, having suddenly remembered something.
If you don't want to be sitting around doing nothing, you could try looking into Yatsuki Matsura's little death threat problem. Though it doesn't really matter how much you look into it. You won't be killed or anything. I just thought it'd be good to mention it, just in case. Still, I don't know what sort of secret connection Yatsuda Matsuda and Junko Enoshima have, so better be careful.
Dude, she's gonna freak out. She's gonna think like, oh no, are they somehow like lovers or something?
It's time to show just how much of a yandere I can be.
Yeah, she's not. I don't think she'll like the idea of a secret connection involving her beloved Matsuda and someone besides her.
Yeah.
Anyways, regardless of what it is, secret connection. Enoshima and Matsuda have a secret connection? What the heck? 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 What the heck?
Uh-oh. And you
What?
just broke her.
The heck? There's something oddly powerful about her saying what the heck. I don't know why, but like I don't know why the PG version just works in this case. Or like the really not even the PG version, the G version, because what the hell is like the PG version. And then obviously if she said what the fuck, that would have been funny too, but a wave of anxiety washed over me. My chest tightened in pain, and everything felt terrifying. My entire being was just exhausted.
Anyway, it's about time we reach the climax. You should get ready, big sis. Anything could happen.
Wow, the meta, bro. The meta is crazy. The
And I guess
climax,
now-
anything could happen. They're trying to prep you.
With 38% still ready to go, we're in the climax of our story.
I personally wouldn't say that we're at the climax yet, but we're getting there. I would say there's a moment I feel in the story that's kind of like that, where they're like, yeah, it's time. And I feel like it's another point. But, I mean, either way, like, we're getting there. Like, we're about to hit the 2/3 mark, so. Kamishiro finished his warning and turned away, this time disappearing into the cafeteria's crowd like a ghost. So yeah, there we go. If Kamashiro's to be believed, next time we see him, it's really going to be the end game. So we're like, maybe not, we're not done with him, but we're like, potentially like kind of half done with him. Because yeah, I mean, presumably we're going to see him very late in the story. Unless there's a lot of, I guess the other possibility though is that if there is actual like epilogue of like tragedy related stuff, maybe we're a little closer then, if that's the case. But anyways,
I'm looking forward to that, let me tell you.
Kamishiro finished his warning and turned away, this time disappearing into the cafeteria's crowd like a ghost. And just like that, I was left alone, still exhausted in the school cafeteria. For the moment I sat there, concentrating on slow, deep breaths. There was no real reason for it. I was simply passing time. Time until the mystery was solved. Time, which always continued in a steady but relentless stream. Time that, for me, felt best spent simply taking deep breaths. And I forgot. I forgot everything. Perfectly. Soon enough, I couldn't remember why I was taking in such deep breaths to begin with. How strange. Well, whatever.
Okay, no. Nope.
What?
Never mind. They're still going.
Okay, well, what were you gonna say? I'm curious now.
Oh, alright. I was gonna wonder if that was like our end with Ryoko until the end, until the climax started.
Maybe a lot of like Yasuka, Matsuda focus potentially, or Kyoko,
Yeah.
Matsuda, like those two probably.
I mean, Kyoko better come back soon. Like, come on now.
Well,
She's in.
whatever.
You put her in the story.
Whatever. They're the only two people that I could see like switching back and forth if Ryoko's gonna disappear for a while. Because I mean, Matsuda, obviously we're gonna get a lot more Matsuda, and then yeah, Kyoko's the only other person
Naturally.
I can think of that we would probably get like that we might get like multiple chapters worth of perspective from. There was no more that I could forget. From that point on, I was bright, cheerful, and brimming with positivity. Not so much as a backward glance, I would walk into the future full of hope. I picked up my notebook from the table, and with plenty of momentum, I stood from my chair and... Huh? I felt...
Did someone say hope?
Oh no, she didn't say the
We're gonna
first
want to
word.
fix that.
Yeah, you're gonna walk into the future, don't worry. You're not gonna walk into the future full of hope. We're gonna make sure of that. Huh? I felt lightheaded, or no, maybe it was something a little different. In an attempt to steady myself, I grabbed the table with my hand. I looked down to the notebook in my hands. The words within danced around the page, distorting themselves. That moment I shivered, feeling like a horde of insects was crawling up my back. My knees buckled. I tried to process what was happening, and then found I was sitting on the chair again. The inside of my head was stained metallic gray, my mind completely blank. I'm so tired. My eyelids became heavy, and my face slackened. The world circling me was quickly beginning to fade. The busy noise of the students around me was vanishing, and their human shapes all began melting together. It was as if I had been poisoned or hypnotized. I couldn't move a single finger. It was in that complete stillness that I suddenly heard a voice. What an ominous laugh. It was strange. It sounded so familiar. What's this? Did you actually remember me? I'm so happy. Despite your awful habit of forgetting things, you still remembered me. That's right. It's yours truly, the ultimate despair. It's been a while. I said that I wasn't going to show up again, didn't I? Isn't that funny?
The more the Enoshima is mentioned, the more you start to remember without that pretty little notebook.
It's like clockwork. It is so intentional, like 100%. Why?
Here's
Yeah,
the thing, it's just-
literally look at the next line. Why can I remember?
Why?
Yeah, but go ahead.
Because Junko Enoshima is such a goddess.
She really
such
is.
an infallible entity graved in your soul that even your brain cannot hide your conscious feelings forever.
Like, it's so weird. She's like, Junko's like one of the most OP characters ever. And like, it's weird because I don't mean that in like the traditional sense. It's like, it's hard to even
obviously.
explain what I mean by that. But like, I don't even know what I mean by that, but I feel like you understand what I mean by that. It's like, it's just, I like literally, I'm not even going to try. I'm not going to, the floors look fine. They don't need to be spit shined. I don't need to start drooling. It's fine. Why can I remember? Why did I remember them? Either way,
But you should.
I actually remembered someone before this voice had told me something. Let's meet up again sometime. Then I can kill you properly. Suddenly I was
Well,
looking
that's
up.
not a very nice thing to remember.
Suddenly I was looking upward, and standing before my eyes was an enormous shadow. The shadow's face was familiar, but I couldn't recall any memory of it. That familiar face stared intensely at me, like it was trying to look through me entirely. Their irises were colored by darkness itself. It was like their eyes were despairing, or even made of despair itself. Again, this is definitely the eyes that we saw at the end in DR1, right before her execution. 100%.
And that, I don't know, you say that's in despair. I say that's hot.
Both can be true.
Oh, God, maybe I do have despair as a fetish.
Well, it's kind of one of those things. Junko, she changes people.
She really gets her point across.
She really does. Oh, God. Oh, man. I gotta look at the end of DR1 again after this. Jesus.
Oh, you've probably seen that 8,000 times already.
Well, maybe I'll watch you play the end of DR1, again.
Jesus Christ, that's such a long video.
Well, I can skip to the good part, Junko. I've seen the whole video before, so it's not
implying
like it matters.
Byakuya is not good enough to keep going over.
Sir, you have to understand. Byakuya is
Blondes.
my master.
I have a severe weakness for blondes.
Byakuya is my master.
And Byakuya's a blonde.
Junko is divine and unholy. It is different. There are levels to this shit.
She's an angel with all classes in dark magic.
And she is the ultimate, like, the lowest level. She's so low that instead of hate, it's fully in the other direction. She's so awful that she's the best.
She has one ultimate title that has not been uncovered yet.
Oh?
The ultimate waifu.
I mean, I thought that was Celeste for you.
Doesn't mean it's her, like, just worldwide one.
Yeah,
Celeste is the ultimate gambler, and she lost in a gamble.
Thing. Celeste is your... You have a taste. Like, she is your type in every sense, right? But Junko...
Oh, don't discourage how I feel about Junko, either.
But Junko is everyone's type. And if you deny that, you are denying your true nature, because we all belong to Junko. So that's the thing, right?
Exactly.
Byakuya is my master. Celeste is your mistress. But Junko owns us all. So it's like there's levels to it.
It's a light that shines brighter than the sun.
Oh, honestly.
And unlike you, I'm not kidding.
A darkness that shines. It's kind of I think it's the opposite of what you just said, but either way, the point got across. Anyways.
A darkness that shines brighter than the moonless night.
I actually don't hate that. Yeah, anyways, as I looked into them, an unexpected thought popped into my head. Oh, so I'll be killed by these eyes. Unfortunately, I can't actually kill you this time either, they whispered to me as though they were answering my thoughts. I mean, yeah, now she's reading her thoughts again. Jesus Christ. Once again, it's just not the right circumstances. You still haven't tasted enough despair. You see, you need to taste an even more despair-inducing despair.
She
Suddenly-
really loves that line. Despair-inducing despair.
So it's like it's because it's multi-layered, right? Like it is a despair that only induces more. It is almost like a never-ending pit of despair of sorts. Suddenly, all the light surrounding me disappeared, and I felt my eyelids shut. The shadow seemed to cover my face completely. But if you say you don't want to taste that despair, then it means war. If you don't fight despair, you'll never feel hope again.
Nice.
Yeah, we're right near the end of the chapter, so I'll finish. But those were the last words I heard. After that, voices, sounds, everything had disappeared. As numbness took hold of my body, all my senses stopped working. I was completely still, and then I fell. Ever so silently, I fell out of consciousness. So, few things. First of all, that last Junko line is actually really interesting because she's simultaneously saying, if you don't submit to me, essentially, I will make you submit. But then she essentially encourages her to fight Junko. And this is where, like, we get the Junko kind of herself is a contradiction because she wants to inflict despair on the world, but she also wants to feel despair herself. So, like, kind of deep down, one of her ultimate desires is to fail. But at the same time, she genuinely wants to have the whole world die with its taste of despair in its mouth, while simultaneously wanting to fail at that mission.
It's why you can literally never win with Junko, because whether she wins or not,
that's the thing.
It's GG in her favor.
Well, that's the thing. Your game has winners and losers. Her game has winners and winners. But she's also losing too, because no matter what, it's like it's both. Like, it's just she gets all the cake. And she has all the cake, so it makes sense. But yeah, like, that's the thing, right? Like, hypothetically, you can win, but she can't lose.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what makes it.
That's why the ending.
That really does make her a crazy villain.
So great.
Yeah, because she still won.
She's one of the greatest characters. That's why she is an S tier goddess.
Like, we talk about
rigging Junko Enoshima.
We talk about rigging the game in your favor. I don't know if anyone's quite done that in the way that Junko does, because Junko truly found a way to make it impossible for her to lose on a level that, like, even when you find the way through in DR1, she still doesn't lose.
Yeah.
So good. But anyways, the other thing I wanted to say is, what the hell just happened? Ryuko was in a cafeteria with like 20 million people. And then all of a sudden, snap of the finger.
It's weird because she didn't eat, she didn't drink anything.
No.
She wasn't, like, tainted.
And it's so funny because she even said it feels like she was either poisoned or hypnotized.
That must be it then. Some of those memories are starting to snap back into place.
Like,
and it's becoming hard to resist.
That would be interesting if there was actually like a brainwashing component.
That's kind of the thing. It's that like it happened like
because
she
like
was
hypothetically,
trying so hard.
Hypothetically, if like Junko's like broken you, if you're a despair, whatever, like I guess hypothetically she could put all kinds of fucked up triggers in your head, and you'd be like, yeah, of course. I'm like, yeah, like so. I mean, maybe there is like a hypnotism component involved.
I think
'Cause, I mean,
Junko would do that. It'd bring more
especially because
despair when they remembered everything.
like once she has someone, they're obviously going to be willing to for whatever. So, and I could see that, like, because you could play. There's things that you could play with that could make people suffer more. She could probably, obviously not to the extent of whatever Matsuda did, but I'm sure she could manipulate people's minds a little bit in ways that she finds, despairingly amusing, and like stuff like that. So it'd be interesting if there's like some deep rooted, like, again, if we're going back to the idea that Ryuko, in her true form, for lack of a better term, is essentially an ultimate despair, and with Junko in some regard, it would not blow my mind to think that she has some sort of weird hypnotic triggers with Junko. That Junko, it's also interesting to think about the idea that if that's the case, Junko could have done this at any time, but for whatever reason, now was the time to do that, which is also interesting. But
yeah,
so she just got knocked out, like.
Yeah, in a very public cafeteria.
But that's the thing, like, we don't. All of a sudden, everything just kind of like, got all fuzzy for her. So there might be like some. Who knows exactly what happened there, but
only Junko and Nishima.
She could have, like, zombie walked away, and who knows what happened. But what we do know is that Junko has made her presence known to Ryuko yet again in some form or fashion.
And that just means that the best girl is returning.
So yeah, what'd you think of, or anything else, if you have anything else on Chapter 5 and what you thought? That was
we're really doing some Ace Attorney investigating right now. Matsuda is getting a little bit deeper in the plot, it seems, and now there is a connection, a very big one, between
Kamishiro
Junko Enoshima and Kaneshima. Matsuda.
Yeah, Kamishiro has at least theorized that Matsuda was the primary interrogator of Junko, and in the process potentially lied about his findings.
Yeah.
So that's interesting stuff for sure. And I am curious to see who is running the next chapter. My guess would be we go back to Matsuda. We could stay with Ryuko. I'd be curious to see what happens when she wakes up. We also could, of course, go to Kyoko.
There's definitely not been enough Kyoko in this story yet, but is she really the most relevant right now?
My guess would be Matsuda because, obviously they break it up and stuff, but usually they go back and forth between the two, with like some others mixed in from time to time. Like I said, mainly Kiragiris have been mixed in a little bit.
Matsuda was the POV before this, so we have done full rotation of them.
So yeah, let's check it out if you're ready.
I am ready.
Quickly, he made his way to the girl's room, discovering upon his arrival that she had not bothered to take the key from her door upon leaving. Despite this, there was no one inside the room. He swiftly opened the door the rest of the way, letting a rush of air inside that caused a poster on the wall to flap noisily. So I'm gonna assume this is Matsuda. It's a guy perspective, most likely. I'm assuming he went into, it sounds like he went into Ryuko's room and was looking for her. Damn it. Why did she have to be out now? He had told her to stay put, even when she had nothing to do. If she were in front of him right now, he would be shouting obscenities at her. That being said, he fully realized that doing so would be useless. There was no sense in yelling at her. No matter what he said, the girl would just forget everything. Yasuke Matsuda dropped his line of sight to his hands, which remained scrunched into tight fists. No matter how many times he tried to relax them, it was impossible. He had lost feeling in them long before, still able to feel Murasame's neck squeezed between them. Sora Shun Murasame's sore red eyes flashed through his mind suddenly. He squeezed his fists even tighter. It was as though his hands were still wrapped around the boy's neck, suffocating him of air. Why did she have to be out now? He whispered in a much weaker tone than before as he left the room.
I'm sure she felt that same way about you earlier.
Like, that's the thing. I'm, like, unironically wondering if, like, when he finds her, he's unironically going to try and dip out of this school, potentially out of Japan. Like, I mean,
But he is Matsuda. He's a badass.
I think he's a strong. He's strong, but I think he obviously he has a very strong will, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's gotten to the point of no return, like he said, where everything's gotten too hot, and I think my gut feeling is he's looking for Ryuko so that the two of them could leave this place and never come back.
That'd be pretty cool.
But he's got to find her first.
Also very smart.
Yeah, especially because they did that little thing where she had the daydream of them like ending up in like I think it was like Midwest US or something. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
I feel like that
It was like
not
on a farm or something.
Yeah, I don't think that'll actually happen, but like
That would be so good.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to try to make that fantasy a reality, and obviously it's not going to go well, but Matsuda exited the dormitory, soon finding himself headed toward the biology building in the East District. If he were her, then that's where he would be. That makes sense. Yep, go to the biology building. Unfortunately, that's not where she is, as far as we know. I guess we don't know where she is, actually, but there was
She's
no
on the
other place.
cafeteria, passed out.
That would be funny if that's actually just literally it was just there was no other place that a girl who had forgotten everything would go. Though it wasn't even the height of summer yet, the back of Matsuda's dirty shirt was already drenched in sweat. The perspiration weighed him down, making him feel as heavy as lead. It should have taken around 10 minutes to reach the biology building on a normal day, but this time it took at least twice as long. Despite it all, Matsuda somehow made it to the biology building. Looking like a broken, wind-up toy, he scaled the stairs in a strange, awkward waddle, and within a few minutes was standing in front of the Neuroscience Institute. After taking a deep breath, he threw open the door. With hope, he looked into the room. Oh no, don't say that. That's
Stop
some like
using the word.
I'm getting like Doki Doki Danganronpa, like what the fuck? But there was no one there. It was still too early to be discouraged by this, but an uncomfortable feeling stirred in him nonetheless. What happened here? It had not been hidden well. The room had been trashed. The desk, the bed, the entirety of the laboratory. Don't tell me. His expression changed as he quickly hurried over to the bed. Something beneath it moved, as if it had anticipated his actions. Who's there? As he instinctively raised his voice, he reached down and raised the bedsheet that draped over the sides. Under the bed was a girl. Matsuda felt his stab of anxiety ease with some relief. But in the next moment, that relief was blown away, as if by an explosion. The bed flung into the air, drifting like it were much lighter than expected before it began to spin around in a dizzying motion. After it spun for what seemed like an inconceivable amount of time, it finally fell to the ground, as though gravity had at last remembered it existed. The bedsheets,
What the hell?
still in Matsuda's hand, flipped upward and lightly grazed against his nose before floating back down to the ground.
What the fuck are we talking about right now?
The bed went flying, literally. A deep, rumbling crash echoed through the room. After it had come to a stop, Matsuda heard a voice. Or more specifically, Matsuda heard a laugh. I mean, girl?
Who loves laughs in this series but,
I mean,
a
we know it's
certain blonde.
a girl and unhinged laugh. Now, it's not poo hoo hoo hoo, but I feel pretty confident that. On the other side of the bed stood the girl from before. Wow. Talk about good reflexes. I wasn't expecting you to be there. I thought it was another stupid girl. Is he... now I'm actually doubting it a tiny bit, but I think
Maybe I should start... Maybe
No,
I should voice this character then.
But we don't know. Like, that's the thing. We know that if Kamashiro's right, he helped Junko. So... So weird. I talked about the idea of him being a despair. We've actually talked about... I kind of like go back to the theory that both of them were despairs. And he made the conscious choice that Ryuko was more important to him than Junko. And that could actually...
Well, that's just disgraceful.
Yeah, I agree. But that thread could make sense. Because we're definitely seeing, like... Again, Matsuda's got some issues. And it could be a thing where him killing that guy... It might be a thing where the reason that he's traumatized by it is not the reason that you'd think. It could be maybe it feels a little too familiar. Maybe there's a part of him that missed the feeling of someone's life, you know, like it could be something like that too. Like, who knows?
It's rather messed up, but I guess it's not impossible.
Yeah, because that's the thing. If Ryuko's a despair, we know they're long childhood friends. I'm almost proposing that in their relationship, Ryuko was the Junko and Matsuda was the Mukuro. Obviously,
Damn.
like different characters, but like and not the same like personalities. But like Ryuko was like the disease. And Matsuda was like the for lack of a better term, the victim or the infected. Like, Junko is not infected. She's the disease. She's the root cause. And with the way we had kind of heard about Ryuko's backstory, it kind of feels like Ryuko also was like that if she is a despair. Anyways, wow, talk about good reflexes. I wasn't expecting you to be there. Thought it was another stupid girl. Wait. No. This is the girl talking. I'm a fucking idiot. I think I saw stupid girl, and I thought that's such a Matsuda thing. I wonder why you would give in
such a masculine tone.
Wow, talk about good reflexes. I wasn't expecting you to be there. I thought it was another stupid girl. You know, the one from earlier had this dumbass grin plastered to her face. Most of the guys I've seen up to now in this dump seem to smile like they're a little crazy, but at least they were kind of cute, you know? You! The girl that stood before him was simply trying to give him instructions, even if it was in her own strange way, she began narrating. And yet, the boy... She's literally narrating
narrating the... Jesus Christ.
God, she's so good. And yet, it's the double quotes that are killing me, because they're emphasizing that she's narrating, but she's also saying it. It's so stupid. And yet, the boy known as Matsuda ignored her, instead asking questions of his own. All he wanted was to hear about the beauty before him. He wanted to know about her so much it was unbearable. He found her enthralling, fascinating, alluring. Eyeing her body over and over again, lapping it all up like a starved wolf. It wouldn't be surprising to either of them right now if the mere sight of her was making him hard. Holy shit, Joel.
Why do you have to interrupt that? I want to see how far she'd go.
I know, that's the thing. I don't think she would stop. As long as she felt that it was making him uncomfortable, she'd go on forever. The second he got that might make him stop. Certainly, if he stopped caring, then it would probably get boring for her. For fuck's sake! Matsuda suddenly kicked the bed beside him, a metallic clanging reverberating through the lab. Oh my, oh my! Are you mad? The girl's smile grew large and obscene as her voice became cheerful. But I'm the one who should be upset. Hey, why aren't you looking at the impeccably gorgeous face of one Miss Junko Enoshima like a lust-driven demon? Dude, I think what I just discussed might actually be right, just because she's acting like, yeah, that's the thing. Like, the way she's acting, it's like, why don't you look at me the way you look at your stupid bitch?
Honestly.
I don't even think it's, like, necessarily, like, an attraction to him. It's like, why are you looking at someone else?
Oof.
Yeah, it's just purely
And it's a fair question, because this is Miss Junko Enoshima, the girl who is cuter than 100 chihuahuas combined.
Everyone should look at Miss Junko Enoshima like a lust-driven demon, regardless of any context. Why's that? Hey, why, aren't you raring to go right now? As she spoke, Matsuda remembered something about the girl. I knew it. You're absolutely crazy at heart. Am I? I mean, I didn't think this one was too weird. But it is your real personality, isn't it? Hey now, quit it with those comments about my personality. There's things that could be said about this dialogue. It's very interesting.
There's a lot of hours that could be spent on your personality alone.
That's true, but there's like there's some wild implications potentially in this dialogue. Enoshima quickly switched to an offended tone. For real, you're making it sound like I've just been faking it up to now, but I've been making sure I keep at least one aspect of me the same. The way you know it's me for sure, no matter what you're getting. Still, I just get bored so easily. So I pretty much hit the snooze button as soon as you get something sloppy. Even still, What are you planning? Matsuda interrupted. His expression changed to a firm glare. Oh, getting serious, are we? You don't want to waste your time talking to the ever-famous queen of chatter. It's more like we're in a Saiyan battle, is that right? Oh my god.
Junko Enoshima is a Dragon Ball fan confirmed.
I think Junko Enoshima, I don't know how, but I think Junko Enoshima has actually somehow, well, I mean, I know how, she's a goddess, but I think she's somehow watched every show, played every game, read every book. I don't know how.
Ever?
But yeah, ever. Just ever. Period. Logic is not important when Junko's involved, so...
Eidetic memory. It sped up the process.
That's certainly possible. I wouldn't doubt that at all for her. Just answer me! Frustrated, Matsuda raised his voice in anger. Just what is it you're trying to do here? What are you aiming to accomplish? Enoshima tilted her head slightly to the side. Nothing really. I don't want to do anything. What? It's too late.
Huh? Nani?
Yeah, honestly, Nani. It's too late. I shan't do a thing. Not one single itty-bitty thing. I have everyone else doing it for me. The student council, the headmaster, the steering committee. Oh, and also that girl who you absolutely adore. Everyone is running around doing my work. Hearing this, Matsuda's face went dark. You already know?
Dark red.
Yeah. What I'm doing? Whatever are you saying? Enoshima raised her head as Matsuda looked down at her. I've known what you were doing for a very long time now. You've been doing exactly as I intended you to do. So what are you saying? Come on. Won't you tell me? Matsuda clenched his...
Hello,
There's
what?
there's so many things here.
What is happening?
There's so much here. Oh God, dude, she's an enigma. Like it's insane reading her dialogue, and there's so much Junko dialogue. Like she's not even in a lot of scenes, but every scene she just says so many words, and they're all so potent. She just never shuts up.
Indeed, the queen of chatter.
Like, don't get me wrong, we got so much dialogue, Junko dialogue in that final trial in TR1. But holy shit, we're getting so much Junko dialogue in this story, even though she's not in a ton of scenes.
Yep.
God, they make them count, though. Holy crap. Matsuda clenched his jaw at her words. The mere sight of it caused Enoshima to quiver with an ecstatic look stuck to her face. Oh, yes. The expression you're giving me right now is amazing. That despair-induced face you're showing me. I want to see more of it. Be filled with more and more and more and more despair.
Hot.
Fuck off. You see, so I actually want to mention something about Matsuda now. We got to see Matsuda interact with Ryuko a lot. And there's two things I want to note. When Matsuda talks to Ryuko, he acts like an absolute asshole. That's his way with coping with the fact that he loves her.
But he is not in the league here.
He's acting like an absolute asshole with Junko too, which implies the obvious connection. But what's different between how he acts with Junko and how he acts with Ryuko is with Junko, he's kind of, in a weird way, Matsuda kind of talks almost a little bit like, he has that snarkiness that obviously nowhere near the same degree as Junko, but he has a little bit of that, like, kind of clever snarkiness. He can't manage any of it with Junko. It is every time it's just like, fuck you, fuck off. Like, it's just really short responses. He's angry.
All his
it's like
quips,
it's
just
gone.
Cower
it's
fear.
like he can't. It's just like it's
That's
just
almighty Enoshima-san.
because that's the thing. He's angry, right? But the thing is, it's just like it's weird because it's like anger, and it's like he's presenting like defiance, but in reality, he's completely submitting to her. Because we know how he talks to Ryuko, who he does the banter with, like he likes her, but it's different. He's enjoying himself. This is just pure, like, he can't. There's no back and forth. It's just he can't even bring himself to try. Like, that's how just defeated he is just talking to her, which is wild.
It also didn't help the fact that she just baited him out, saying that, like, I know what you're doing. You thought you were planning against me, but you've been following my plan all along, bitch.
I mean, all she did, dude, like I said, she cooks too hard. Like, it's like now, every detail, right? Down to the last detail.
Yep.
Watching him, Enoshima snorted and chuckled. She placed her hands behind her back as she casually inspected her surroundings. Moving on, though, Matsuda, what is it you plan to do from here? What do you mean? Enoshima suddenly reached out and grabbed Matsuda's wrist. Oh dear, your hand is wounded! You weren't scratched too hard, were you? It looks painful. Should I kiss it better?
Yeah. Do it. I like how you've just stopped talking now.
Yeah, my brain fried. Also.
Are you sure that's all that fried?
No. Also, it is funny because it's like, obviously she's teasing him, like, oh, let me kiss it and make it better. But she's also like, your hand. Interesting. She's all but saying, it almost looks like you might have been strangling someone earlier. Isn't that interesting?
Good observations, Miss Enoshima.
Matsuda quickly tried to pull his hand back, but Enoshima held on tightly. Now, let's see. These scratches were caused by some other boy, weren't they? It looks like he was probably an honor student, but he was terribly ill. And when he made this wound, he was probably bedridden with shock, wasn't he?
How are you making such well observations? You're not the ultimate detective.
God, she's terrifying. She might be better.
Whoa, the super ultimate detective.
Dude, she's just better at everything than everyone. Forget ultimates. She's the perfectly, ultimate hopeless human. I forget the line. Fuck. It's a line that she says. I don't even think I was close. Anyways,
Perfect.
it's like hopelessly it's something where, because I remember she's basically saying she's perfect, but in like a despair way, and then like Byakuya says, basically comments like, I don't think there's anything perfect about that, and then that's right around the time that she decides to drop the bomb on Tagami about his family.
Yeah.
How do you know that? I don't know. I just understand. Because it was all part of my plan. Enoshima drew close to Matsuda's pale face and grinned crazily. Gotcha! Just kidding! And the best part is you have no idea if she's joking or not.
It's always one and the same.
Yeah, you just can't. Oh. She released... This is like... Oh, God, this character is like what you imagine a character should be, and she's like actually this. You know? It's like insane.
I know.
She released Matsuda's hand and once again observed her surroundings. Still, I'm sure there's some precious existence you want to protect. Oh, that's right. This is disturbingly similar to that thing with your mother!
Damn it, how do you know about that?
She's actually just coming out and saying it. No way.
How do you know about this?
Oh, that's right.
How do you know so much about everything?
This is disturbingly similar to that thing with your mother. You must feel awful.
Goodness.
I'm sorry. Oh, speaking of your mother, I can't help but feel that Ryoko Tanashi looks just like her.
Again, I had a theory last time.
We talked about this.
And,
it's one thing that it's like implied. Juko's just outright calling it out. Well, yeah, there's two things. But, like, she's just outright saying, like, this. He has an Oedipus complex. But, like, yes, we could also go in the other direction that you discussed. But, like, this is crazy.
Oh, yeah, but it's beautiful.
Oh, I gotta start that over. Still, I'm sure there's some precious existence you want to protect. Oh, that's right. This is disturbingly similar to that thing with your mother. You must feel awful. I'm sorry. Oh, speaking of your mother, I cannot but feel that Ryoko Tanashi looks just like her. You know, they just have the same kind of vibe and stuff. I wonder if they shared some sort of connection to each other or something.
Jesus Christ.
If you're actually right. I know this is Danganronpa, but if you actually cooked that hard, that's crazy. I mean, like, it's weird because I do think she's mainly implying, like, you know, you have serious mommy issues and you project them onto Ryoko, but there is the potential double meaning, which is that
and
plus
Junko's
the other
fully
thing.
aware of that.
And yeah, it's... Or maybe you're the connection. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but I guess it's pretty nice that your friend is so forgetful, just like your mother. I say, Oedipus? You're really knocking it out of the park.
Jesus
Outright just saying that, like, yep, you're attracted to Ryoko because
Cook.
that's the literal Oedipus reference. You are attracted to Ryoko because she looks like your mother. That is crazy. This version of Mother Dearest doesn't even remember her own miserable backstory. I mean, confirming that Ryoko has a miserable backstory, that's something. Okay, so I will say,
I feel like that was kind of obvious at this point.
this is like one of my favorite, like this paragraph lives rent-free in my head. Like, this is easily one of my favorite paragraphs of this story. Like, what in the world? Like,
This is just Junko Enoshima on display. Like, this is
that's
literally
the thing,
all it is.
right? We know that Junko's character is like this, but to actually see it, to actually see her go this far is
It's
crazy.
Beautiful.
It is.
Finally,
Like,
this is the tease we got in Danganronpa 1.
Yes.
And we're utilizing it to its fullest potential.
Like, she was unbelievable, but you really get to see what was implied. And it's one of those things where it's like, you know, prior to this, I don't know if you ever really, like, you didn't really think you'd ever get to see it. Certainly not to this extent.
Now I'm even more annoyed they killed her off in the first game. How can they make a villain that lives up to this much hype?
Honestly.
It almost feels like they're building an impossible pedestal to climb at this point.
Honestly.
Like, you can't have a Danganronpa villain not be Junko Enoshima.
Like,
It's just not possible.
It is crazy writing, though, that, like, you do all that, you make Junko amazing, then you kill her, and then the next thing you write is this, which not only utilizes her brilliantly, but makes her somehow, dare I say, infinitely better. Like, I don't know how you get infinitely better than perfection, but here we are. As she turned to Matsuda once more, she looked up at him with a persistent and energetic grin. She bounced happily around him over and over.
Yes.
I'll never get over it. Obviously, I meme about, like, how hilarious incest is, but this is just ridiculous. Whether it's actual incest or not, because it's even that's what's funny is even if it's just his best friend, at best it's his best friend that looks just like his mother and has similar issues to his mother. That's why you wanted to protect her this time. Okay, actually, yeah, she doesn't remember her own miserable backstory. That's why you wanted to protect her this time. Because Matsuda remembers her miserable backstory.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that was clear, that that's what she was saying. I get it. You feel sorry for her. You're troubled, Matsuda. You're so very troubled. That's what it seems like after all I've been hearing. Enoshima stood in front of him, glaring more intently now. For real, though, what do you plan to do from here? Matsuda opened his mouth and... What do you even say after that?
Fuck.
That's about what he was saying before.
Just... fuck.
Matsuda opened his mouth, attempting to find the words to say, only to close it again. His pale lips trembled slightly, but he could only muster a glare directed back at her. Enoshima looked like she had expected this reaction and began her pacing once more. Oh dear. I suppose it can't be helped. I'll just have to think about this one a little harder. Suddenly she stopped walking. Don't get me wrong or anything, Baka! She yelled out as she went...
There's a new tsundere persona!
She yelled out as she went bright red with what seemed like embarrassment. I don't really mind if you don't care about it. Still, it's all up to me. Even though I'm not the most reliable, and And I can't just leave it be.
Ah, they actually gave us another one of Junko and Ashima's many masks. That's so
Let's
cool.
go.
That's a treat.
Yep.
Tsundere
Yeah.
and Ashima.
Of course. I mean, she's watched every anime, read every manga and light novel, like, ever. Of course she would pull Tsundere out. She didn't understand the reason behind her at all. She would probably find how cliche Tsunderes are to be despair-inducing.
Jesus Christ.
So stupid. He didn't understand the reason behind her at all. And Oshima changed her personality with no warning. As if she were trying on clothes. Leaving... That's kind of the interesting thing. In this story, she's not really done a lot of personality jumping.
Yeah.
Certainly compare. She's kind of... I feel like she spent most of the time being more or less the real Junko, or probably the closest thing to a real Junko.
Well, it's more one-on-one action this time, as opposed to just a whole
it's not as much of a performance, right? It's more just like... I mean, it's a performance of it. She's always performing, but you know what I mean. And Oshima changed her personality with no warning, as if she were trying on clothes, leaving Matsuda unable to follow along with the conversation. She paid no mind to his reactions and continued to walk once more as if nothing had happened. Well, I did say I'd have to think about it for a bit, but there's really only one way to go about all this. And Oshima circled around Matsuda as his eyes followed her. She continued in a straightforward tone. It's Izuru Kamakura. No matter what happens, he'll end up with the blame. He ran away. And that's perfectly fine, since he's the cause of the little incident they call the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. With that, it should be easy to fix the issue with the student council president, and the whole thing with the guys from the steering committee. Those old fogies are just trying to cover it up again anyway. Whoa. That's easy to miss. It should be easy to fix the issue with the student council president. That's Junko saying, it should be easy to fix that body you just left lying. But she's talking about fixing something that he did. It's interesting. Again, why should she care? But I don't know what to make of this relationship. I'm still like kind of on like, is he a despair? Like, it's hard to tell.
She might want him to be.
I want to say no. I want to say no, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Hearing her words, Matsuda muttered inside his head. I knew it. Still, if Murasame said what he thought was true, then that means it all just makes less and less sense. Yeah, because she just implied that Izuru might not have done it. But I think Jesus Christ. Just tell me.
Bro is still lost.
What are you trying? That's the thing, though. Junko muddies everything up. She likes that. She's just the more confusing it is, the better it is. The more despair-inducing it is. That was like one of the best lines with her in DR1. Was she was like, "Why am I like this? There's no reason at all. What could be more despair-inducing? What could be more despair-inducing than that?" You want some grand explanation? I literally don't have one.
Yeah.
It's literally like
sometimes...
Junko. It's literally Junko flipping off the audience, and it's like,
this is just who I am.
Yeah. And that's literally the explanation, canonically. By all accounts, at least. Just tell me, what are you trying to achieve? Matsuda asked. You know what? I told you before, didn't I? I'm not trying to do anything! She screamed in a high-pitched voice, then suddenly laughing it off. I'm just making my exit from this interesting little tea party. This is the second time you've said this.
Yeah, like, what the hell? You ain't leaving just yet.
I've had enough of interrupting things. Right now, I'm just existing as a background character. Nothing else. He didn't know if her words were truly her honest feelings on the matter. No matter how many times she repeated herself, he would probably never know. He understood that, at least. Well, in the end, it's all up to you. I don't really care what you do with this whole situation. Yeah. Do whatever you like. I'll accept whatever ending we come to.
Interesting. So it doesn't matter in the end.
She's
Although
kind
maybe
of
that's just because it's a
Yeah.
a prequel and the ending's already decided.
she's
Nice
kind of
little,
implying,
Full
though, that
break.
it's all on Matsuda. Whatever choice, which is interesting because it's felt like for most of the game that whatever like defining moment is going to belong to Ryoko. But maybe not. Maybe it's going to be Matsuda that has that moment at whatever it might be at the end. So
That
what
would
will
be a
you
nice
do?
twist.
It's all
We
dependent
are in
on
his
yeah.
we are in
I mean,
his book after all.
This is the one with him on the cover. It's all dependent on whether you go along with it or not, right? It's all dependent on whether you go along with it or not.
Right.
Go along with what, bitch?
Spoilers, duh.
Yeah, she would say that, but yeah, I mean, like, I feel like that's just straight up, like, you know what my plan is. You
But
you gonna
do
do
you
it?
really?
Like, it literally just is like, are you gonna do what I want you to do or not? I don't care. You choose. Do you want the world to die or not? You know, whatever. It's all good.
I mean, I don't really feel like it matters so long as Junko and Ashima is there.
I mean, like, obviously we know things are gonna go horribly wrong, but it's almost like, to me, it's almost like, I mean, who knows how deep this actually goes, but that's the thing where it's like she's able to kind of steer things in a direction where it's like she's 99% sure everything's going to fall into place, and she purposely leaves the 1% in case, you know, with so that there's always the chance that she could lose, because that also excites her. So it's like, are you going to surprise me? Are you going to be different? Or are you going to be exactly like I expected? And do
Either
exactly
one
what
is despair-inducing.
So that's the thing. Because that's what happened in DR1. 99 out of 100 times, it goes the other way. Makoto was the 1 in 100. Or the 1 in a million, or whatever you want to call it. Anyways.
I guess just the one in however many humans are even left
Sure.
at that point.
Although Matsuda had understood what she was saying just now, he felt he had to ask something. You know where this Kamakura guy's whereabouts are? Nope, not a clue. And Oshima quickly shook her head, causing Matsuda to frown. You said Kamakura would get the blame and nothing. Just relax. It'll all be clear soon enough. She interrupted him loudly. There are some guys who know where Kamakura is, and I happen to know just who they are and what they're doing. Soon I'll be one of the people in the know too. The steering committee? So she's been taking them out one by one, potentially like torturing them before or something. Try and get the info, maybe?
Still doesn't explain where the bodies went.
No. That has nothing to do with the bodies, but it does.
Yeah.
That could be another reason why she's been killing them, though. Ding, ding,
That
ding.
is fair.
Ding, ding, ding. Correct. And Oshima announced with a cocky attitude, if you heard it from those guys, then Kamakura should be easy to find. But even if they knew, that doesn't mean I know where he is, right? Onishima's brassness remained, but her voice deepened. That's... Oh my god. That's right. It doesn't mean that... At that moment, her expression slipped and her face went deadpan, as though she had lost interest in absolutely everything. But perhaps that's not such a big deal. I mean, those guys don't say, then that just means Kamakura's whereabouts remain unknown. Your plan will fail and I'll be ruined. But that's all. So you shouldn't pay too much mind to it. Yeah, there you go. Right on cue. It's like, then everything goes wrong. Oh well. As she muttered in a monotone voice, and Oshima turned to the window and walked toward it. Her eyes filled with melancholy as she leaned against the sill and stared outside. The laboratory overlooked the East District's courtyard and the reserve course parade. Nice. There you go. There's a mention of it for the first time in a while. You're talking
Like
as
the
if
first time in this book.
You're talking as if it doesn't matter if I fail. Matsuda raised his voice in a puzzled tone, staring at Enoshima's back. Because it doesn't matter. Continuing to stare out the window, the girl laughed absent-mindedly. In private, I'd always think along the lines of how despair-inducingly wonderful it must be to put an end to something as utterly insignificant as small fish. Their plans are nothing, you know? She said even the things that were never meant to be said. Her words were a reflection of the true feelings that lay in her heart. So then, you really are batshit fucking crazy. It's so sad too, because that was one of the rare moments where Junko was just real. Like, that felt like, at her core, like the real Junko shining out for like 2 seconds. Because, sadly enough, the realest Junko is probably just like melancholy, depressed, and then just like, you know, it's all meaningless, right? Because everything leads to nothing, and, you know, it's all blah. Anyways, sorry, you don't like that, do you? And Oshima looked back at him with an innocent smile on her face, as if Matsuda were mistaken.
Emo-shima. That's the name. Emo-shima.
That's actually kind of funny. I feel like, though, what we just got was a little... Yeah, I guess emo could work, but a little different from Mushroom Shima. She had the face of a devil in one moment, and the next
really love Mushroom Shima.
It's one of the better ones. There's a lot of good ones, though, because it's Junko, of course. And in the next, she smiled like an angel. There you go! The face of the devil in one moment, and the next, she smiled like an angel. We were talking about that earlier, too. She hadn't intended to make either face. That's why she continued to shake as he talked with the girl. He felt beyond exhausted. That's right. For that girl's sake, it's not like you can lose. And Oshima's pure and innocent smile remained as she turned and walked silently to Matsuda. You really are someone who's madly in love. And you're prepared to fight for your love. I'll bet when they said love is blind, they were thinking of you. But that doesn't mean I think what you're doing is stupid. Actually, I'm grateful. You're destined to spend an eternity with that person. So really, thank you from the very bottom of my heart. God, there's so much here. Enoshima walked up to Matsuda and didn't come to a stop until finally their toes were touching. She whispered gently to him. Do your best, Matsuda. I expect that from you. Defeat the despair you face and let hope win, shining victorious. Because that's what I expect will happen. Go get your perfect, happy ending. Matsuda. As she whispered quietly, Enoshima leaned in toward him until their faces nearly touched. And she then leaned in more. In the next moment, their lips connected.
What? Huh? What?
Matsuda didn't break away. He was confused, but gave up and just accepted it as it was.
What is this? What is this tonal shift?
It was a vicious, long, and twining, violent kiss.
What?
What do you think of that?
I'm gonna kill him.
I know, right? Actual, like...
More like, what do you think of that?
I know what I'm thinking, but I'm actually not saying it, and I'm not saying it actually for a specific reason at this point that I'll talk about.
I almost feel like that's her first kiss.
See, it's weird
because
with
it's
Junko.
Junko.
She, like, simultaneously... She is like a... This is a Schrodinger's cat. She has simultaneously kissed no one and everyone. Like, I don't know. Like, I literally... It's like 50-50. I don't know. I could just as easily... Like... She's like... I don't know.
I can't even... I can't even, like... mentally process the fact that I now know that canonically Junko has just fucking made out viciously with a character from Danganronpa, and we're seeing it.
Yeah.
What the actual fight? What? Good. Damn.
And that's right after saying, basically, like giving
talking about the girl he's in love with.
Well, that too, but basically saying, like, you know, win the day. Like, essentially telling him, beat me, and then kissing. Like, it's weird because to me, it's genuine. And you know the thing that makes it seem genuine to me? Like she really is, like, for lack of a better term, rooting for him and means what she's saying.
God, that makes me want,
it's the fact that the kiss is violent. Because, like, I feel like if she made it, like, super sweet and, like, tender, that would be almost too... That would almost be, like, too fake. But I feel like the fact that the kiss is, like, intense, for lack of a better word, if not, like, literally violent, I feel like that's, like, an indication that she means both her words and her action in this moment. Like, legitimately.
I'm not gonna lie, this makes me want to, like, watch a series or something where, like, I don't know, like, the hero and, like, the villain are, like, lovers or something.
Sure.
Like, fighting opposite sides, but they actually, like, are, like, into each other.
I could think of
I could
actually think of a series that I've done that's like that.
Well, yeah, but that's a shitty web series. I don't care about that one.
I don't know what you're talking about, to be honest.
Involves 4 girls that are near useless in the story.
Okay, I know what you're talking about now, but I still don't know what you're talking about. Like, I know the series you're talking about, but I'm not...
There's a white woman and a white-haired bloke.
Oh, no, that's not the series I was talking about. It's a series you haven't watched, is what I was talking about. But, yeah. Okay.
I doubt I'd feel as strongly towards that, because I feel quite strongly about Junko. But, like, still,
I mean, to be fair, it is, like, one of my favorite ships ever, actually. But, still, Junko's on another level.
This is Junko Enoshima.
It's so
and
good.
She just kissed a guy.
It's so amazing how we get so much Junko dialogue. We get so much of this, and we only got, like, you know, as much as we got in the game. Every single moment of Junko is so... It's so hard to describe how in character her writing always is. Like, there's all this wild stuff, different tones, everything, and yet every last word involving Junko in the story feels exactly like it's perfect. It's so her. It's crazy.
I agree.
Like, it's this is one of the, like, we'll get to when we get to the ending. The ending, God, will also be a huge part of why. But it's so hard for me to rate this story in the context of Danganronpa because it is so like the Junko stuff somehow just keeps getting better, and like from the very beginning when she's like,
But
we had the
also
tiny
heart-shattering as a reader.
it's like that's the thing. Like when I talk story, especially when we get to the ending, like this story can stand up to anything in the series, but like obviously it has the disadvantage of being a book compared to a visual novel, and all the things that you can get out of a visual novel, which makes this again so hard to rate. But God,
I agree.
it's the peak is so hard. Like this chapter is so peak. Like, and this is, like I said, like this is something we have not gotten. We've gotten to see these Ryuko and Junko interactions, but we never got this Matsuda Junko interaction.
I agree, and I just dropped water over me, and now I'm wet in the literal sense. So it works. It works.
Or do you want to?
No, it's fine. I'll stay like this.
Fair enough. It's Junko. So we should, we might not be women, but I'll join you. I'll dump a little water on myself too, because even though we are not women, it is still our duty to be wet for Junko. It's just, it's just how it is. Jesus Christ. God. I don't even know where I am, honestly. Oh yeah, of course. Vicious, long, twining violet kiss.
I mean, I feel like we could just stop right now.
I think we're near the end of the chapter, and now I've remembered why I only did 2 chapters. One, these are both long chapters, but also, holy shit. After a time that was far too long to be described in a single word, Enoshima finally pulled away. In the moments following the kiss, she backed away from him, and in dead silence, she walked to the laboratory door. Where are you going? Bro, like, what is Matsuda's deal? Like, I get it. It's like Junko's literally like beyond perfect, but seriously, Matsuda, like, when we get out of the fact that she's the greatest thing ever, Matsuda didn't resist, and now he's saying like, where are you going? Like almost like I can just hear it in his voice. Like there's that hint of longing, like, don't leave me. Like I can hear it. What the fuck?
It's the Junko effect.
I mean, it's definitely the Junko effect. That's like a huge part of it, but I definitely feel like there's more here. Like, especially with Junko doing that, there's more here. There's a lot here that we don't know. Still. Matsuda asked, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. In return for the kiss, I thought I'd lend you a bit of a hand, she said, laughing, but then quickly stopped. Wait. You don't need to go out of your way. Oh my God. In his mind.
Do it.
He didn't say it, but bro, wait, you don't need to go out of your way. It's crazy. You're supposed to be kind of the hero, sort of the hero, Matsuda. I know you just killed a man, but holy shit. If he actually said that. But his mouth wouldn't move. No, not just his mouth. His entire body felt numb and was immobile. And it looks like you were caught by such a classic too, Matsuda. Looking at the frozen boy, Enoshima looked like a child on Christmas. She was smiling, overcoming with delight. You know, lipstick is a dangerous thing. Mine, for example, has a nice little kick of poison. Poison. It just sounds so vintage. Totally retro. But don't worry, it's not life-threatening or anything. And she poisoned him.
It's the Junko effect. That's what I'm dubbing it.
I mean, I know she said it's not life-threatening, but has there ever been a more appropriate time to use the term the kiss of death? I mean, like, literally. I mean, kiss of despair doesn't roll off the tongue, so. Enoshima happily bounced around Matsuda's still form, reveling in sheer joy that her plan worked. Finally, she bounced directly in front of Matsuda. Now then, I should give you one final piece of advice. Her expression suddenly grew serious, like a boxer moments before the bell rings. You know, in this scenario, only you can make the choice, Matsuda. So think carefully, dwell on it, and choose whichever one you think is best. Hope or despair. The choices are so different, and yet, surprisingly, intricately connected. She always wants them to make the choice. Even if it's an illusion of choice, she's always going to offer the choice. Anyway, have a good think about it. Think. It's no good. I'm tired now. Maybe this conversation was just that tedious. Well, whatever. In any case, that's all for now. Goodbye. She brought the one-sided conversation she had started to an equally one-sided end, sauntering out of the lab. Wait! Despite yelling it out, no sound escaped Matsuda's mouth. The boy stood, paralyzed, waiting for feeling to return to his body. And that's the end of chapter 6.
Crap. That's that.
Peak. Like, I meme about it a lot, but Jesus Christ.
That's the Junko effect, and that was pretty
like,
hardcore.
Like, I talk about this a lot, like I said, throughout my series, but, like, she does make me question so much about how much I could love a character, and, like, holy fuck, it's like... I don't even want to think about it, but holy shit, like... I don't even know. Like, what... She speaks for herself. Like, I don't even know what I could add. Well, that was 2 chapters, so, I don't know if you want to stop or not.
I understand now why, but... that was... you know what? Yeah, they would keep to your pace. That's probably enough.
Yeah, okay, so then the plan would be 4 and then 7. If, it goes. I believe chapter 10 is a very, like, obvious stopping point from what I remember, so. Although in hindsight, this was 2. Holy. Like, I guess. Man. Bro, that's insane. The fucking wait, you don't need to go out of your way. And he couldn't say it because she had poisoned him. But the fact that he was even going to say that. And that's the thing, too.
I don't know if he's as into Ryuko anymore.
And that's the thing, too, though. It's like...
I mean, he is, but... a little despair was just planted in his very psyche there.
Well, we've seen that both Ryuko and we've seen it in different ways, but Ryuko and Matsuda have both shown how vulnerable they are to Junko. Like, Ryuko remembering things is in essence, her Matsuda's hold on her weakening, as we've discussed multiple times in their scenes. And now that we finally got to see a Matsuda Junko scene, I mean, it's self-explanatory. But I think the thing that's like important, another thing that's important to note, it's not necessarily the kiss that broke him. It's one thing if she just kissed him. She did all that talk, all that she went through. She said she messed with him. She brought up that he low-key wants to fuck his mom, his dead mom. She brought up all these like fucked up things and like weird things, and she talked about the relevant stuff, quote unquote, but she went through this whole maze, and then finally, after all that, she wished him good luck and then gave him the kiss to boot, and it was like the final touch, right? Like she just, it crack, and we saw he was, from the beginning, he was struggling to deal with her because he was saying the swear words, but he wasn't adding the sass. It was just like fuck off and stuff. But you know, the kiss was just the final touch. She did all the work to lead up to it, and that's what makes it so good.
Indeed.
And then he gives in, and what's crazy is like he can't actually say it, but Junko knows. She doesn't need to hear it.
In some ways, she's the ultimate analyst. Because she can perceive and calculate how people respond so perfectly.
How literal are you when you say that?
I don't know.
Because there is that.
I guess
theory.
you could also call it the ultimate socialist.
Well, I mean, we, you know,
but that doesn't quite work as well.
You know, you shrugged it off as crackpot, but there is that theory too.
Yeah, there's that one. Not important, though.
Until it is, man. Until it is. God only knows.
Yeah, then the discussions will be very, very...
Yeah, we would have to unironically talk about, like, the whole thing, the whole fucking book, if that actually happens. Oh, I would kill myself. But, yeah, we're 2/3 of the way through. Storyline-wise, we're 2/3 of the way through. But video-wise, we're 3/4 of the way through. And what that means is these next two videos are never going to end. Like, they're actually never going to end.
God, what are we on right now? Percentile? 66%?
We are two.
Jesus
that's
Christ,
what I was saying.
These are never going to end.
So, yeah, we're 75% through in video, and we're 66% through in actual book. So, we're 9% behind in terms of videos versus actual content. And what that means is those last two videos are going to be really long. And that's just how it is. And that's just how it works out. But I do really want to finish this in the next two sessions, and I think we should go for that. I think it will be worth it. I think after that, after what we just experienced, like, it's so crazy because this whole story, Junko's been unbelievable. And somehow she, like, took it up another level. Like, it's actually insane. Yeah, I didn't realize this was the chapter.
That kind of just expected, though, at this point for Junko? Because, you know, it's Junko.
But it's like, at least for me, it always manages to amaze. Like, there's just... She's so perfect that you feel like it can't get better than this. And then it does. Like, this chapter, I didn't, like, specifically remember that it was going to be this chapter, and then a little while in, it was starting to it was coming back to me in waves, And like the deeper we got, the more I was like, oh god, like this is just the best thing ever. Like this is without a doubt one of the best chapters in the story. Like I don't think that's, it goes without saying. I mean, like all the Junko chapters are incredible, but the writing in this is so good. And like I said, the Junko scenes are incredible. The little nuances with Ryuko, the little nuances with Matsuda, like I said, it's so great. The way that she just randomly starts to remember things better with Junko, the way that Matsuda, like the little changes in how he speaks, like it's so good. It's one of those things where it's like it's all there, and like eventually the story is going to go out of its way to make it obvious if you haven't been catching on to the hints. But it's just, it's amazing. Like he's so good. Like he's so good. And like and I start thinking about like Danganronpa 2, and like I'm so excited for you to play that, and we are getting ever so closer to that as well. But it kind of doesn't matter now. We're close enough to the end of this where it's like the end of this in and of itself is, you know, worthy of all the hype, you know. So like it's just, it's all amazing here, you know. We've more or less, it's weird because we're technically only 2/3 of the way through, but we more or less made it where we needed to go. Like 2 episodes left.
They're gonna be big.
Yeah, but still,
and they're gonna be fun though.
It's like, it's crazy. Like 2 episodes left. Even if they're gonna be big boys, it's still like, so what are the kind of updated feelings on how you think the story's gonna end? Any big reveal? Well, you know, obviously there's going to be big reveals near the end, but just how you think this is all going to kind of coalesce as we start to creep towards the end. Because obviously, next time, Ryuko is going to wake up. Presumably the next chapter very well might be back to Ryuko. Oh yeah,
she passed out, didn't she?
Ryuko got like...
Man, my brain just kind of like exploded when you
chapter
see
6,
fucking...
Chapter 6 was just...
After all the Junko mesh sus.
Yeah, little did we know that when Kamishiro was talking about the climax is near, apparently he was talking about the first climax of a story with multiple climaxes, because I don't know what else to call that but a climax in every sense of the word.
Yep.
So, hey, I guess this book's got a few. At least 2, at the very least. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's more than that even. But yeah, like, we don't know what's going on with Ryuko. Presumably she's going to wake up either in the next chapter or, you know, maybe chapter 8 if we get like some other perspective.
It's weird, because we still got a few players in this.
Basically,
it's been a while, but
they've all but
Jin and Kyoko are just done at this point.
They've all but confirmed that we're not going to see Kamishiro until the actual climax. Like,
yeah,
like when Kamishiro
and
shows up again,
we'll truly
it's
see if
Endgame.
If Ryuko has to pay his price.
It's hard to know how much more Matsuda we're going to get, because it's hard to know how long that poison will take effect. Because right now he's paralyzed.
Paralyzed with ultimate despair.
And we don't know how long that's going to last, so it's possible that takes him out longer than
I'm wondering if Ryuko's gonna find out about that little peck. Peck on the lips.
Peck on the tongue is more like.
One and done.
I don't think that was
quick friendly gesture. Pure friendship. Nothing more.
You have violent kisses with the homies?
Bros before hoes.
A certain dominance, eh?
Oh yeah.
Jesus Christ. Oh my god. That was definitely a scene though. Juko actually kissing Matsuda is definitely something
It's a
that
good one though.
I was excited to see what you'd think of that.
I'm excited to see what you think of that. I might just go to that when this is over.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I can definitely every time she's on screen I understand a little more why you love Miss Enoshima so much.
Well, it's so funny because like post DR1 Goddess. Like, you know, it was immediate like that's my girl.
Oh god, you've got like a separate divine entity tier like just ready for Junko and Enoshima.
But like it got worse somehow. Like I already loved her as like I think
I
she
don't
was,
know if
like conceptually she was just so perfect, and like the thing about DR0 is it feels like we get to see the concept truly played out.
I don't know if I don't know if you're gonna like you've done it on Discord. I don't know if you're actually gonna change your YouTube pick to Satsuki. But it's almost starting to feel like you actually placed Junko higher than even that.
I don't like to think about it.
You have to. We all have to eventually.
I think a lot of people that watch, and I'm sure, you know, there's crossover here of the like 12 people watching this read along. I'm sure of the people that have gone and seen my journey through Danganronpa up to this point, or depending if you're watching this way in the future, maybe all the way through potentially. There's definitely a world where Junko is my world, and she's you know I often say my favorite anime characters, and I make that distinction. I don't like to think about the fact that this might be my favorite potato, period. There's a very real possibility that is the case.
And that it is right there.
And I've discussed this in as many words, like I said, in my series of Danganronpa content, but it is hard for me to say confidently that I've ever had a character that I like as much as Junko. That I can say
Good
without
Lord.
hesitation. I don't know
That
if I'm
is
willing to.
wild.
I don't know if I'm willing to commit all the way, but it is like, how do you beat this? Like, honestly, like certainly in the context of a villain, like Jesus Christ, I don't understand. Like it is. This is. I didn't know how much I needed Junko until I went down the Danganronpa rabbit hole. It's truly not something I regret. Maybe I should because it's Junko, but can't bring myself to say that I regret.
Some things are worth the despair. And that's just it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's actually scary. Yep.
Whether she's, sticking her tongue down your throat, stepping on your head and crushing your skull to bits.
I feel like I'd like
just
all that
standing
too much
next
for
to her would bring an absolute aura of terror and despair. It's all worth it in the presence of Junko.
Well, I mean, like I gotta throw it back at you. Like, where are we? Like, where's that Junko meter? Where's that despair meter? As for the actual
this isn't about me.
living, breathing embodiment of perfection. Yeah, okay, shut the fuck up. Bro out here just trying to like, just laugh at my addiction.
How did we get to me all of a sudden?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's. Oh wait, what's the name? What's the name of the channel on the bottom here? KAR. Huh. That doesn't spell the flaming shark.
What the?
I don't know how we got here, but we're here, so I'd like to hear you express your current Danganronpa 1 plus 2/3 of Danganronpa 0 opinions on
this is an invasion of privacy. I refuse to cooperate.
Who said anything about privacy?
Well, you just. Sweating profusely. You can't see it, but it is happening.
Matsuda was sweating profusely before he even knew he was going to meet Junko. I can't imagine what happened once he saw her.
I think we all know deep down.
I mean, to be fair,
how we react ourselves.
She made the joke about him being hard literally at the beginning of the conversation.
Because she knew she'd get to that point.
Yeah.
Whatever
She was acting all disappointed. She was all disappointed about you not being like a lust demon over her or whatever. Oh, what she
just
truly
a little persuasion,
she
a bit of a peck in the right direction.
She truly is the greatest prophet of our time.
Yep,
it's unbelievable. Like
oh,
this is like she's a philosopher, she's a poet, she's a prophet. She's
just
perfect.
an Enoshima.
And there's only one. That's why Mukuro's last name is Ikusaba, because there ain't room for more than one Enoshima. Even her own sister can't be an Enoshima. I'm telling you, man, VNs are like low-key peak fucking form of media, low-key.
The weeb coming out in that sentence alone is intoxicating.
Shit's crazy, man. Like, it's crazy.
It is, but like, holy fuck.
Oh yeah, no, you always gotta dive deeper.
I agree.
Junko is literally like the definition of dive deeper. Or just do whatever she says, that's fine too.
Literally. Don't matter in the end. We're all gonna die anyway. Who cares if we spend our time worshipping a despair goddess to bring down the entirety of the world?
See,
if anything, we're just doing it a favor. Just speeding up evolution.
See, what's funny is, like, people, there will be people, like, so there's 12 people watching, right? So, like, at least 3 of them think this is a bit. That, like, this is a gag on the end of the episode. What they don't realize is there is something more powerful than this stupid fucking shit. And it's Junko. You have to understand this. He just said it. Like, nothing matters. We're here for Junko. That's what matters. The only reason we're even finishing this story is because she wants us.
The only reason I was even made to read this story was because of Junko.
He didn't even know Junko was in it. And yet that was still the only
Junko
reason.
For years.
Crazy. Actually crazy.
Indeed.
You know what I call that? You know what I call that?
What?
Despair inducing.
It's crazy to think that for so many years I thought Junko Enoshima was just this basic high school girl with freckles.
That's also despair inducing.
Indeed.
Like, On that. I see. I don't even know. Am I doing a bit? Am I not? I honestly don't know. Like, I've lost my mind long ago. This is the second time I've read this book.
And there will be a third.
Honestly, probably one day. Not for a long time. Like, it's too much. Junko's too powerful. Like, you read it once and you lose your mind. You read it twice and you think you're losing your mind again, but it's already gone. It's a weird feeling. God. See, it's like I can't, like, no, like, we can't even, like, end the video. This is like the quintessential just never stop talking. Till we stop talking. Do you have anything to say?
If you want to go on an hour rant about Junko, I'm not going to stop you.
I mean, we're like, see, that's the thing though. I don't actually have anything to say because Junko is, it's all there. I mean, there was a lot in this episode, but it's all right there. It's all right there. It's all right there. I don't know what you're gonna do to edit these things, but if there's any sort of backgrounds or something, I think this episode speaks for itself, that it in some way, shape, or form must be despair-inducing. Because I'm losing my mind again. This is Danganronpa.
His brain
does this
is just
too
melting
many times.
for Enoshima juices.
Literally, not the first time that's happened either.
Every lube of brain matter in that thick skull.
It's crazy.
It's all just Enoshima. In fact, if you did an X-ray on him, his brain would have pigtails.
You mean a brain fingerprint?
Yeah, a brain fingerprint. The brain would have pigtails.
I would pay money for a copy of Junko Enoshima's brain fingerprint.
I'm sure you would.
Whatever
You would not be able to
saw,
comprehend such juices.
it was the best moment of his life, whether he'd admit it or not, until a new best moment of his life just happened at the end of this chapter.
But yeah, a lot of Junko, a lot of despair, a lot of grievances, and it's only going to get worse from here.
Somehow.
As I think it's fair to say now we're in the final home stretch, the climax of our despair-inducing journey.
Well, somehow we're only 2/3 in.
Only the second of many more to come in the series that is called Danganronpa.
Yeah. It is great because it's zero. It all stems from zero. It all starts at the beginning. And of course, what's more zero than Junko Enoshima? Doing crazy fucking shit.
Yep. But yeah. So guys, I think this is a wrap. I know you were curious. Your part for this May chapters was 1 hour 45 minutes. We have gone over an hour beyond that.
A lot of that was the outro. This outro went on forever, rightfully so.
A lot of that was just chapter 6, which was half the length of chapter 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, so guys, that's good to it. Junko Enoshima, that's all that needs to be said.
Honestly.
And we will see you next time for the penultimate episode of Danganronpa 0. See you then.